Hello, everyone, and welcome to Smashbox TV podcast 390. Terry Miller to the disco. That was like on cue.
Oh,
We're starting late. Clearly, I have a nosebleed.
So the funny thing is, we're just about to go live, and Terry went downstairs to go grab Scott Stokely, who is our guest tonight, and poor Terry. And so suddenly, like right before we're about to go live, Terry's like, "Oh my God, my nose is bleeding," and so now, unfortunately for our YouTube viewers, they have to sit and watch Terry deal with a bloody nose because the show must go on.
It must go on. Well, quickly, I'm going to say we had a special guest. He's in-house. Hopefully, I don't bleed all over him. We're going to welcome in Scott Stokely.
Hey, hello, everyone.
Take it away, Scott.
Hey, I'll be honest. You're not the first person that was so excited to meet me in person that blood vessels literally burst in their face. So I'll consider that as a compliment. You know, one of the things I've learned about getting older is that one of the tricks is to lie to yourself and then believe those lies and then create a reality that's way better than the actual reality of aging. So I choose to believe that you were that excited.
Yeah, we'll go with all that. It has nothing to do with allergies, the desert, or anything else that I'm going through. But so I do apologize to everyone out there. But like Johnny said, we wanted to get started. Scott, I wanted to bring you in, and I want to talk. Of course, there's been a lot of hype this year about what you're doing in 2022, and well, you may be leading that hype train. But let's get started. What does 2022 look like for you?
Well, 2022 is I am rejoining the professional pro tour in the open division. I've been out for a number of years now, off and on, after a 13-year break from the sport. Well, let's say I was on tour off and on for 8 years until 2001, took 13 years off, came back, and I've been out off and on ever since. But I've been playing a lot of age-protected tournaments, focusing on teaching, seminars, a lot of my special needs work. Haven't focused on the actual pro tour, but in 2022, I'm out there competing in MPO with the best in the world. And I'm going to be out there in the entire year, giving it my best shot.
So some might say, why? Like, why now? What do you have to prove, and why MPO?
So the short of it is, it actually happened the last time I saw you. When I was at the Dynamic Discs Open, I was only competing in tournaments basically around my seminar schedule. Like geographically, I was running seminars all across the country. And then on weekends, I'd play tournaments. Didn't matter if it was a one-day C tier, an A tier. I didn't care. And I happened to be in Kansas, and the Dynamic Discs Open was happening. So I said, I'll play the DDO. MP50. Wasn't thinking anything beyond that. And I'd seen the pro tour. I'd seen the evolution on YouTube, of course, and it looked amazing. I was so proud of the sport, but I hadn't really experienced it in person. And when I went to the final day out at the country club, my mind was completely blown. It was basically, like, you have to imagine, I've been playing since, like, I first started in 1976. This is what we dreamed of for literally decades. And I was watching it happening. And I was so excited, and I was so happy for the sport. But something really weird happened, and that is, after the tournament, all the touring players got into their RVs and left, and I honestly felt a sense of abandonment. Like, I felt like they were leaving me behind, like I'm supposed to be there with them. That was the feeling I got, and that's when I said, I wonder if I could go out and do this again. And that's kind of what started it.
Well, you've been working out, for starters, which you very much documented is an absolute inspiration. But what have you been doing off the course besides working out and getting your body physically ready? What are some of the other things that you've been doing to get yourself prepared? Because although you were very competitive and won most of the age-protected division events you were playing in, now you're clearly back to going against literally the best of the best, the Eagles and Pauls and Rickies and Kelvins. You're going to be going against all of them now.
So a lot of it actually was the working out. So the short of it is, I made an honest evaluation of whether or not I felt I could compete. Because if I didn't feel like I could compete, I wasn't going to do this. I was not going to go out there just to participate. It is my belief that at the level of the DGPT, that if you're not out there competing and trying to win, you're stealing a spot from someone that wants to win. So I wasn't going to go up there and say, hey, I used to be good, welcome me to your tournament. I had to feel like I could compete. And I made an evaluation of my rating and how much I'd been practicing before and a number of factors. But I came to the conclusion that if I trained, I could be a competitive player. I'm not going to be the highest level. I mean, obvious. But I felt like I could be good enough to be competitive on a weekend. All I needed to do was train for 9 months. And I hadn't really practiced in years. I was showing up at tournaments, playing tournaments blind. And, just it was casual. And I said, I'm going to train. And I went out and I grabbed 50 discs. And by about the 30th throw, I felt like my arm was going to fall off. Playing a tournament was not the same as training. And that I was like, uh-oh, I already told everybody I was going to be out. I concluded that I didn't have the body to support the training needed to get my game back up to where I could score. So I literally dropped out of the rest of the tournaments for the year. And a major part of it has been focusing on working out, lifting weights, disc golf strong, heavy emphasis on diet, nutrition, going to get my blood drawn at the doctor every couple months and having them see where my levels are with everything and getting me up to par. And that has really been the focus, most of it, until just about, I think 6 or 7 weeks ago is when I started throwing again.
Is it fair to say that right now, at the age of 52, you're in your best physical condition ever, or were you this fit and ready to go when you were 19 or 23 or 26?
It's hard to imagine that I could feel better than I did in my 20s. I mean, what's the expression? Youth is wasted on the young. And so I'm sure I was able to. I mean, I'd do 500 drives, 1,000 putts a day and didn't think anything of it back in the 90s. And I can't do that now, even with my body. So I'm probably not in the same shape. My goal, honestly, was the way I evaluated it was that in a sport like golf, you are still, now I'm ignoring outliers, there's always exceptions, but generally speaking, I think late 30s is about the end of a typical athletic career in a sport like ours. So my goal wasn't to build a 20-year-old body. My goal was to build a 39-year-old body. And I'm only going to go out for a year. I mean, if I go out longer, who knows? But really, I just wanted to be just at the tail end of an athletic career. I thought if I could be late 30s, that would be good enough. So I feel like I'm in my late 30s. But that's good enough.
I was just going to say, I look to some of your fellow peers of whom you've competed against with forever. Your Johnny McRae's, your Barry Schultz's, your Ken Climo's, all of those gentlemen. I mean, we've seen how well they can still play on any given day. Now, Climo a little sidelined with injury, but Barry Schultz is out there, and it feels like he's just as good as he was 20 years ago. And, he's creeping into that territory. And obviously, Johnny with a little bit of a setback here with heart condition, but, he's right there competing as well. So as you're saying, late 30s certainly can be super competitive. Look at a Brian Schweberger as well. So I feel comfortable thinking that you could be in that elite class and performing as at that level, if not greater, now that you've put so much into it.
Yeah, well, so here's how I was connecting the dots. At the end of last year, I finished the year 1,010 rated. I had some medical issues beginning of this year. I was shooting 950 for a few months, which crushed me. But 1,010 was about where I was shooting last year when I was competing. Or, sorry, the end of the year before last. So the end of 2020. And I was not practicing. I was just showing up at tournaments, no practice, and I was playing courses blind. A lot of tournaments, I was asking where the OB was before teeing off and was shooting 1,010. My feeling was with practice and training and actually learning the courses, I felt like getting my rating up to 1,025 was very realistic. Now, shooting 1,025 on the Pro Tour is not competitive. But again, connecting the dots, I feel like any player in the world 10-20 rated can win a Pro Tour event on a given weekend. And there's even going to be exceptions beyond that. There will be. But 10-20 is the level where a 10-20 golfer on a given weekend can win the World Championships.
Yeah, and that means they've got the skills. And they just have to have everything go right for that weekend.
Everything they've got to put together. So if I can get my rating up into the mid 10-20s, doesn't mean I'll be competitive every weekend. I mean, far from it. I'm realistic. But I believe that's good enough that I can come out on a weekend, get hot for a couple rounds, find myself on the lead card, and then a 2-round tournament, anyone's game.
Now, you reached out to myself and a few others late last year when organizing this plan, and you immediately realized there might be an obstacle or two with just being able to get into the events. So what was that obstacle? How did you overcome that hurdle? What are some of the things that had to transpire for you to say, hey, I want to now come out and compete, but there's a few barriers here that I have to get over first?
Yeah, so it's kind of a long story, and the details will be boring. But I, what I did is I am bringing something to the Pro Tour beyond just an interesting story. One of the things I've been doing for years is my special needs classes. At the Disc Golf Pro Tour events, before the events, I'm going to be running a special needs class, and I want the Pro Tour to be associated with that because it's something that it's promoting adaptive disc golf. It's something that I do. I would be doing it with or without the DGPT, but to be have their support on it, it's a big deal. My prize money goes since last April goes to local autism organizations. So what I did was I want to be out on the Pro Tour. I want to compete. And here's what I'm bringing to the table. Here's why I think you guys want me with you. And then things have just basically worked themselves out for that.
And also, in addition to everything you have to do physically to get yourself ready, the sheer logistics of being on the road, touring around, trying to play disc golf to win money that you're just going to give away. Like, how do you find all the support, the actual support mechanism to be able to chase after this dream?
Well, okay, so I'm going to be teaching my seminars. So at most of the events, the day after the event, I'm doing a seminar. They're actually sold out for the entire year. So my seminars are already booked. My wait list, believe it or not, is I have over 2,500 people on my wait list to get into one of my seminars this year that are sold out. It's a heck of a great problem to have. So I'm doing that. I have a bunch of products coming out. I have a bunch of Tour Series discs. If you give me the segue, scottstokely.net, you can buy a Tour Series Berg, a Tour Series Stahl from Costaplast, the Tour Series Harps from Westside Discs just dropped today. They're available, scottstokely.net. And I'll have a bunch of other Tour Series discs coming out. I'm about to announce a golf cart and a bag. So basically, I'm making money in other areas of the sport, teaching and merchandising, and that's why I can give away my prize money.
So I guess that answers one of the next questions that a lot of people would be asking is, what are you throwing? What does it mean to you to have a mixed bag sponsorship? And how much do you enjoy that, especially being more old school where, when you were playing, there was really Discraft and there was Innova, and things have certainly changed quite a bit since then in a multitude of ways, but namely in sponsorship, and people like Nico LaCastro very much thrives in an open bag or a mixed bag. Is that exactly what you have, or how's that?
Yeah. So basically, and I made a video about this, about how do you build a bag, but you don't build a bag by choosing discs. You build a bag by choosing the shots that you need. I need an approach disc that goes left, an approach disc that goes straight, an approach disc that goes right. And then once you know those three discs have to be in your bag, how you fill those slots, the model you choose to fill those slots is up to you. But it's the shots you're building your bag around. So the idea was, I know what shots I need in the game, and then it's simply, what do I feel is the best disc for this shot? And I've thrown lots and lots of discs. For example, the Harp from Westside is my number one favorite overstable mid-range disc. They call it a putt and approach. I call it a mid-range because I drive with it quite a bit. But so then I get to choose to throw the Harp. And I love the Berg. The Berg's my go-to disc for certain straight approach shots, and I'm also putting with it. And a whole bunch of other discs. I mean, my whole bag's like all but a couple discs have already been chosen. I'm just announcing them every couple weeks.
Okay.
The thing that's been really mind-blowing to me is that when I've been approaching the sponsors, I've been approaching them by saying, I want to have one of your discs in my bag. I want a Tour Series disc. I want to work with your company, but you're not going to have an exclusive. And there's plenty of reasons why a manufacturer wouldn't want to do this. Why are we giving you something when your competitor is giving you an equal amount? It's kind of a wash at that point. And I didn't know if it would work. But when I've been reaching out to these companies, I haven't been told no yet. And I believe is that I'm doing something that I think is special. And I think these companies want to be a part of it. And if you're not in my bag, someone else is going to be. So companies like, the announcements have already been dynamic. Gateway and Castaplast. There's a number of companies I haven't announced yet, but these are just good people. Let me take a bigger picture. All the disc companies are good people. So this is not a better or worse stand.
Sure, but like you said, there's some people that are probably chomping at the bit to be able to support you, your mission, what you're trying to do, what you're trying to accomplish. And so that's got to feel good. Now, it also has to feel a little bit crazy. I know I just mentioned, way back in the day, it was primarily Innova and Discraft. There's a few other manufacturers. What do you make of today's market and just the depth and the breadth that we have in terms of the disc manufacturers and even the accessories that go along with it? Is that all stuff that you envisioned or thought would maybe be a thing 20 or 30 years ago?
Of course. One of the most common questions I get, and you can actually vouch for this because you've been around a long time too, which means you're old.
Yes,
like me.
I am.
That's by the way, Jonathan, that includes you as well.
Yeah, he's older than me by a few months.
People
shut up, Miller.
Podcast, and they'll say, "Can you believe how big the sport's gone? Can you believe what the DGPT is doing? Can you believe how good the players have gotten? Like, are you completely shocked by all this?" And my answer is, yes, yes, I can believe it. Every single one of us knew this was coming. And the reason I say we all knew this was coming as far as how big the sport's blown up is because that's all we talked about. Back in the 70s and 80s and 90s, when you went to lunch, you talked about how disc golf is the sport of the future. And none of this is a surprise to any of us. The only thing that was, I think that where we got it wrong was we kept thinking it was going to be next year.
And that was always, even in, the mid 90s when I got introduced to it, Johnny V got introduced, we said, okay, well, next year when it's on TV or next year when it's on ESPN, it was always the next year when we get that big break, and television was always that big break. And now here we are, I think we're resetting our goals on any given weekend, whether it's an ESPN spot or any other kind of broadcast television or the documentaries or the series that are making it into film festivals. There's so many different ways that we can continue to blow up.
It is. And so none of it's a surprise. The amount of companies that are getting in is just good. It's a pretty, the free market is a pretty well proven system with all its flaws. The free market is the best to make something grow. And that's what's happening. Every new company that comes in is pumping money into the sport. They're sponsoring tournaments, they're sponsoring players, they're growing the sport. Whether they succeed or fail, the fact that this company existed at all benefits our sport. The sport wins. Yeah,
it was interesting. Somebody recently, there was the announcement, I think I talked about it on the show, as to how many manufacturers approved disc just last year. And somebody was saying how that's terrible for the sport and a bunch of them are going to die off. And I'm like, I don't know how that's terrible. It's terrible for them. Of course, if somebody, dumps their life savings into going out and creating a couple molds, they run a few 100,000 of them and they don't sell well. Of course, I think that's terrible, but I don't know how it hurts the sport itself in any way.
No, absolutely not. Like what's a better situation? A small town with 2 restaurants that both succeed, or a small town where 10 restaurants open up, 5 of them fail? But the best 5 succeed. You got 5 restaurants instead of 2, and you got the best 5.
Yeah.
That's why the free market works. So it's not bad. Of course, it's bad for the individual.
Exactly.
I watch it, you'll see towns where all of a sudden 3 or 4 pro shops open up in a town that can't sustain it. And it's heartbreaking because they're all going to suffer because of it. But that's business. When you go into business for yourself, that's those are
some of the roll of the dice that you're going to take as well.
Yeah, there's incredible benefits. I've been an entrepreneur, self-employed the vast majority of my life, and I've had the highest of highs and the lowest of lows. It comes with the package of being a business owner. So some of those companies are going to fail. Some of them are going to do disc golf and be wildly successful for the rest of their lives. So
yeah,
it's not bad for golf.
And speaking of the golf, so we're about 36 hours away or so, about that, from getting started for the Pro Tour for this year. Have you seen who you're playing with? Do you know what time you're playing? Has any of that?
I am playing.
How are you feeling about it?
How did you get in?
Castro and James Proctor.
Okay. Yep.
And I apologize, one other player. It's another 990 like me.
Okay.
I'm excited. I haven't shot with James. I personally am a big fan of Nico. I like Nico a lot. He's a really good guy. I know he can be a little bit polarizing, but a polarizing athlete is not bad for a sport, because a polarizing athlete you watch.
Yeah, you're always wondering what's going to happen.
Nico is fantastic for the sport, but also, like, I know Nico is a good guy, and I'm looking forward to playing with him.
Yeah, well, that does sound like a good group. And thinking that Nico LaCastro, coincidentally, might be one of the most veteran players in the MPO division. Right. So to see you playing with him, I think, is even a little bit cooler. I mean, we've got a lot of guys that have been playing for a long time, but Nico's been grinding it out on the tour since like 2006 or something like that. Which,
yeah, I saw a meme going around where it was a picture of Nate Sexton and a picture of me. And they put the little bubbles where Nate says, "I'm a veteran," and then the little bubble to me says, "I don't think so."
Yeah, what do you feel about that? I mean, there are guys and women that have been out on the tour now. I think of your Sarah Hocombs, that have been out for so many years, more than a decade, and you've resurged in various forms over the last couple of years. What do you think about all these people that are out here grinding?
I think it's fantastic. I mean, you know what Sarah Hocomb's not doing this year? She's not sitting in the cubicle doing something she hates.
So she's winning right there.
Yes, in my opinion, if this is what makes her happy and what she wants to do, then it's a win. She's living the life she wants to live, which is fantastic. The people that are doing disc golf for a living are living a dream. And, my hope is that many of them are able to carry this over past this. Because I'll tell you a real quick story. So when I first went out to tour, I was dead set, first off, that you have to go to college. You have to go to college, get a degree, get a job, a 401k, wife, 2.5 kids, suburbs, blah, blah. I was sure of this. But I said, I'm going to go out. Like I didn't want to do this type of life, but I wanted to go out and tour. So I went out and toured for 3 months, but I planned at the end of the tour, 1993, that at the end I was going to go back. Had 5 more semesters of college and was going to do the life I was told I had to live. And I went out for 3 months. And I remember thinking at the end of the 3 months, I went, uh-oh, I'm in trouble. Like, how can I ever go back to this? Now that I've actually been playing, this is 1993. I mean, the days that we actually ate hot food at gas stations instead of cold sandwiches was like, those were Mondays because we were like celebrating our $80 first place win. But that was such a dream life. And so I hate the thought that some of the players that got to enjoy this might go back to doing something but disc golf. So I hope they figure out a way to parlay disc golf into a career and a life, because there's so many things out there.
Well, and I think you're the perfect proven case for that. I mean, there's so many different facets and roles in which our disc golfers, whether they're current superstars or they're on the tailing end of their career, there's so many more things you can do besides just working for the company. There's roles within the PDGA, there's roles within the DGPT in various media capacities, and then just instructionals, podcasts. I mean, there's just so many different things now. You can help oversee and manage a team. Not that obviously Eric. Wow. Eric McCabe. That's who I was going to say. Eric McCabe, he doesn't compete nearly as much. He still could go out and be competitive, but he fills all these other great roles at Dynamic. And I just think there's so many of those opportunities now that, again, didn't feel like they were available 15, 20 years ago.
No, you had to create them.
Yeah.
One of the things I wrote about in my book is everything from the traveling double series to the clinics to the private lessons. I made that up. I made up all these things. I've started all this stuff. So I actually had to create opportunities, because they weren't there until I did so. There are opportunities now. One of the things we've talked about, I just don't know how to put this together, but I would love to do workshops for the touring players on the business side of disc golf, about branding, about your career, about monetizing disc golf, basically the business of disc golf.
Yeah, and I feel like we're getting closer to that, and obviously you'd be an incredible resource for it, but we're seeing player managers or tour managers, I think is someone specifically like an Ari, who's been very much helping Ricky with everything she's doing. But then also we have accounting firms that are representing them. We have law firms that are representing our disc golfers. We're making sure that contracts are all, legit and in place, and all the sponsorships. Like, there's so many things that are going on with it. And like you said, I think it can come back to the branding and sponsorships and everything else that's tied to it. It's incredible.
Yeah. And this is not something I want to or will ever want to do for a living. I mean, I want to mentor players. This is not something I want to be paid for. I wouldn't take money for it. I want to help the younger players, because one of the frustrating things for me is that, so many top disc golf athletes in the 90s and especially 80s and 70s and before didn't get to keep doing disc golf for a living. And it's not that it's unfair, because everybody had the same opportunities to create opportunities. So it's not that it was not fair. It's just I don't want to see that happening to players, because there's so many ways. Like, I mean, even to a point, like, I'm giving away my prize money. I mean, partially why, like, and I did this all last year or most of last year, like I don't need prize money. There's so many ways to monetize this sport beyond prize money that you just have to do it.
Yeah.
But if you're 22 years old and no one's told you how to do it, you're just hoping you get a tour disc from a sponsor if your rating gets high enough. Like, that's awesome if you can do that, but there's about 100 other opportunities beyond that you can make yourself.
Yeah, and you have to go out and work for it like anything else, as you should have to. And I think of someone, again, I pull in like a Brian Earhart, who, has been playing and touring around and has very much found a voice and a passion for doing the disc golf commentary. So he's stepping into more of that role. And then I think of someone else who's on the Disc Golf Pro Tour team this year, in Zoe Andike, who clearly has been playing and doing all the things that she's been passionate about, teaching and instructing. But then she turned that into a nonprofit with creating UPlay and then developing it and moving on from there. So like you said, there's just so many different ways to branch out, and it doesn't have to just be, where do I stand at the end of a 3 or 4 round event?
Yeah. And that, there's, so the way I'm, when we've talked about these workshops, the way that I would describe it is that as a professional athlete, you have 2 scoreboards. One is how many strokes under par you are, and your second scoreboard is your bank account.
Okay.
Right? If you're an athlete, it's only the scoreboard. If you're a professional, it's only the bank account. Professional athlete, you have 2 scoreboards, and they both count. Now, one of them can positively affect the other. How well you score can affect your bank account. It doesn't go the other way around.
Yeah, unfortunately.
Won't help.
Doesn't make you a better golfer, yeah.
But those are 2 different scoreboards. And a player, like, I don't consider a player less successful if you're 10-22 rated and that's as high as you get, and you got a couple podium finishes, but you never win a DGP2 Pro Tour event. But you do disc golf for the rest of your living and put your kids through college because you get to work in disc golf. That is a professional win. Like, that's more of a professional win than having a couple tour titles in my book and not doing anything with those.
Yeah. I totally agree. And the fact that we have so many opportunities now with the Pro Tour, with how professional disc golf and the sponsors and just so much more money infused into everything, the opportunities are endless. You just have to go work for them. And as you know, some people are better at working for them or not.
For sure. It's not for everybody, but hopefully it's for more.
So just to rewind briefly, and it may or may not be, I might be thinking of yesterday. If so, I apologize. Dan Ginley, I believe, celebrated a birthday yesterday, and you were talking about, some of the original touring players. Dan Ginley, of course, it's doing spinners on the green, and then, the backbone to the Memorial Championship that we're going to see next week. Give us an early season crazy story, whether it's Vegas or Memorial. That's where I was kind of tying all this together. I'm thinking of both weekends, because Vegas, for the most part, has always preceded the Memorial. And then in the years, it's kind of jockeyed back and forth as to which ones has had bigger emphasis. But these 2 weeks back to back have been on the tour forever, haven't they?
Yeah.
Or started the tour, I should say.
The Memorial for sure.
Yeah. Okay.
Because that was originally the Bob West Memorial.
Yep.
Bob West, a player from Huntington Beach who passed away back in the late 80s, I believe. But then it just became the Memorial. A crazy story from the early days. I'll just give you a crazy Dan Ginley story.
Okay.
So Dan was the second player to tour.
Okay.
Now, my definition of touring, there were certainly players that hit the road. There's certainly like a player like Greg Hosfeld was literally on tour for years, but he was also doing stand-up comedy, and so not to take anything away from that, but I would call touring, you're living off the money you make from disc golf, and you're living on the road.
Okay.
The first player to do that.
Can I guess?
Yes. Go ahead.
It's not you, right?
No, I'm number 7.
Is he Canadian?
Yes, he is.
All right. Yes. Glenn Whitlock would be my guess.
Whitlock. And Glenn Whitlock, this will segue into Dan Ginley, but this is such an amazing story because, people talk about the early Wild West days of the sport. This is a pretty good example. So Glenn Whitlock was traveling, touring in the 80s. And now in the 80s, if you won a tournament, you might win $120. Literally.
Yeah.
And the way he was able to support himself, first off, he didn't drive.
Yep.
He hitchhiked. So he would basically go to a tournament, and at that tournament, if there was somebody there anywhere near a town where there's a tournament the next weekend, he would ride with them to the next town. And if he couldn't get there, he would grab his golf bag and his backpack, and he would hitchhike to the next town. The other way...
What's that?
Okay. The other way that he supported himself was that Glenn was an actual competitive eater. He's like 5'7", 140 pounds.
I was gonna say 140. Heck, I was gonna say more like 120, but okay.
Okay, so but no, literally. And this is, by the way, you think we're exaggerating, and talk to any single person from the 80s. We've all seen this. So what Glenn would do was he would only eat at all-you-can-eat restaurants that cost less than $1 a plate. That was his rule. And the dollar a plate was because if the more variety, the more plates he could eat. So in other words, he would never pay $7 for an all-you-can-eat spaghetti meal because he could only eat like 5 giant plates of spaghetti for $7. Not worth it. He would pay $7 for all-you-can-eat buffet with variety because he would eat 9 or 10 plates. It would take him several hours, and then he wouldn't eat for a couple days. I ask anybody from back then. This is not an exaggeration. Glenn was, It was legendary what he did. So that's how Glenn was the first person to tour. The second player to tour was Dan Ginley, and Dan did something that we couldn't believe back then. When we heard this, like, our mind was blown. This is 90. Dan drove a car. He drove his own vehicle to tournament.
Okay.
You have to have been there to realize that was not something that was possible. You can't play. Okay, sure, that guy's hitchhiking, but you can't play Frisbee golf for a living and pay for gas.
Okay. Yep.
Dan did it. Dan was the second player to do that. So Dan is a legend. Dan went out and toured and made his living playing disc golf and kept gas in his tank. That was a really big deal in 1990.
Yeah, and I think about whenever people talk about just that, the first couple of people, Dan is always one that's mentioned as essentially the first touring professional that's out there, and I think maybe Glenn doesn't always get the credit because he's Canadian, and we're just a-holes here in the U.S.
Yes.
But
I won't let anybody forget. Glenn was first, and we should never forget what Greg Hosfeld did, because Greg was on the road. He was also doing stand-up comedy gigs. But he was living, he did the grind. There was a point when there was like 700 courses in the country, and he had played like 625 of them.
Yeah, he kind of famously was playing every single one he could and checking them all off.
Yeah.
And then for a little while he was traveling with baskets and putting them up places. And yeah.
So we'll call Glenn the first touring player. We'll give Greg Hosfeld first with an asterisk. So like I left Greg. I felt so bad because when my book came out, I didn't mention Greg as a touring player, and I feel really bad about it because Greg needs the credit for that too.
Yeah, well, and he's still competitive, still playing,
yeah, he's
still putting in courses feels like every other week I see a new post from him putting in courses down in Florida, which is absolutely incredible. We're going to backtrack just for a moment again to this weekend. Everybody that has seen any social media has hopefully now realized practice has been at a standstill for the last 2 days. If you got here earlier, which some players were, they got some practice in. And I always thought, well, that seems like they're really early. Well, that might really be paying off because the last 2 days, explain to the world what it's been like out there the last 2 days.
I haven't practiced at all. I mean, it's 40-mile-an-hour gusts. There's no real there's no reason to practice in that.
Especially when it's not forecasted for the weekend. If it were
Right.
forecasted all weekend, I feel like at least some players could be like, okay, I'm going to go out here and come up with something that resembles a game plan. But it's supposed to die down. So I think people feel like they're just kind of wasting time out there.
Yeah. And so, and every course is different. The way you study and prepare for a course, and I can't speak for any of the other players, but I'm pretty confident that most would agree with this, that a course like Las Vegas, you're not really practicing lines as much as you are gauging distance and wanting to get a feel for where out of bounds is.
Landing zones.
You know, you step up to a hole and you're like, well, should I try? Because there's an out of bounds green right in the middle of the fairway. Well, do I try to throw over that? Well, you throw one, you get a hold of it pretty good. It's in the middle of the green. That's where you learned there's no benefit to trying to throw across it. I need to lay this one up. That's what you're practicing at a course like this. And so when the wind's blowing, you don't really get that. I've been out here for 3 weeks. I came out, well, not entirely here.
Did you play the whole way here? Didn't you do that? You played like a 10,500,000 foot, 692 foot hole?
No, I went to Death Valley and I played a 55,000 foot hole across Death Valley. The video's coming out in the next, hopefully the next couple days.
Okay.
We shot the whole thing on video. Yeah, I mean, I thought it'd be fun to play a 10.5 mile hole across the valley.
Yeah, that doesn't sound fun, but okay. I mean, it does to you, not to me.
Sounds like a lot of fun.
Check the videos, I think is what we're saying.
Yeah.
Okay.
Well, okay, so I'll take a quick aside here because this is something that I find really important to me, which is, and again, you'll read a lot about this in my book, and you've known me a long time. I find it important to constantly be putting obstacles in front of myself and challenging myself. And one of the reasons I like to do this is I always want to know, and more so as I get older, I want to know what I'm capable of. And if I only do things that I know I'm going to succeed at, then I don't know, perhaps maybe I was capable of doing more. Like you only know what you're capable of if you fail.
Yeah, you're not growing at that point.
Right.
You're being comfortable, and they always say you have to get outside your comfort zone.
Exactly. So a 55-mile hole across Death Valley, there was no... or a 55,000 foot hole across Death Valley. There's no guarantee that I was going to finish that. Like I had to change shoes because I was, I got shin splints and my feet hurt, and it was Death Valley. It's the desert. Desert's a real deal. But now I know I could do it, and it was fun. And even the tour is an example of this.
Yeah.
Now I will know what I'm capable of.
I know something that stuck out a little earlier. You said something about this year. Is your goal to get to the end of this year and then reassess?
Okay, I'll tell you my 3-year plan. I have a very firm 3-year plan, except we know there's things going on in the world that make this unpredictable. But barring anyone preventing me from doing this year, my girlfriend and I are going to be on the entire 2022 tour. Next year, I would like to spend the entire year in Europe competing on the Euro Tour.
Okay.
Maybe it's a little bit informal, but just hitting the events, but just hitting countries I want to go to. I'll also jump in. I'll take one little break from that. I want to go to Japan. We want to go see the cherry blossoms in April.
Okay.
And if there's a tournament, cool. But aside from that, we're going to do Europe the second year. And then my plan, if everything goes according to plan, the year after, I am going to I want to travel all over the world, and I want to go to the most obscure places where disc golf is new and compete in their national championships. Because there is an Ethiopian national championship. There's a French Guyana national championships. Maybe. If there's not, there will be. The Republic of Chad is going to have a national championships. And I want to go travel the world and go to places that I've never been to and
collect national titles.
Yeah, I guess so. But honestly, how I play is irrelevant. But what I want to do is I want to go see places. I want to experience the sport. If I can bring some media attention to their event, because if they promote it, they can make something of the fact that I'm coming, and then I can do some seminars and clinics, and I can appear on some local TV shows. I can really do a lot for disc golf in these places, aside from the fact that we're also just going to have fun going to cool places. So that's my 3-year plan.
Okay. Well, I'm gonna
Hoping.
keep checking in on that because it seems like your plans are always changing because well the world is always changing. We don't know what's really going on, and you get sidetracked and or you get derailed, whether it's on your own accord or otherwise. So to think about your main means of income being the clinics and the demonstrations, or mainly the clinics. How at one point you were trying to scale that. Is that correct? Or
Yeah,
you have a couple of instructors that you've instructed that are then moving on teaching your same methods?
Yes. Well, Philip Bartholomew was already teaching classes. Phil is a high-level golfer from North Carolina. He is also my observation of the people I've seen. I've never seen anybody teach disc golf better than him.
Okay.
And I don't know how to put myself in the loop. I can't really be objective for myself. But the thing is, what I teach, I really truly hate the term, the Scott Stokely disc golf method. But for business purposes, I'm naming it what I would recommend someone else name it if they created this.
Okay.
So I call it that, cringing. But it's the Stokely disc golf method. And what it is, it's not a method of throwing that's different than anyone else teaches. Every pro in the world, like, we agree 98% the correct way to throw, what correct form looks like. There's no disagreement on how to throw correctly these days. The disagreement is on how to teach a player to get there. So what the method that I teach with my teaching is a process that I've learned. I did my 500th clinic in the spring. I did 1,200 private lessons in 3 years. I've taught more than anybody. And I've developed a method and a process to get a player to throw the correct way. And it is not by teaching the end result. The end result is when you watch a YouTube video and you're going frame by frame, going, my hips need to be here before my arm gets to here. And everyone watching knows that that doesn't work. So the end result isn't what works. So what I've developed after years and years, I mean, literally decades, is if you do these things, these other things fall into place behind it automatically. Huh. And so what was amazing about Phil is he'd been teaching disc golf full time for 3 years and was really, really good at it. And if you're going to teach my method with my name attached to it, you have to teach my way. In other words, you have to be able to drop your ego and do that, which is really hard to do because he's very good. And he came to one of my seminars, and at the end of the seminar, he watched everybody and he went, oh my God, I've been teaching wrong. This is like, that's just, I'm mind blown what you were just able to do with these players in this amount of time. He goes, I'm all bought in.
Wow. And
he is now teaching the exact method I teach. And I'll be honest, he teaches every bit as good as me, maybe even better. I mean, he's really good.
Okay.
No, I mean, he cares so much. And so that's, there'll be seminars all across the country that Phil's going to be teaching. And I have a world champion. I'm not announcing it yet, but a past world champion is coming to Las Vegas and coming to my seminar the day after the event to hopefully have the same experience, to see how I teach and then decide if he wants to also do it. So there may be a second teacher as well.
Dang, scaling up. Which you have to do because there's only so many. Well, there's only one of you.
2,500 people on the wait list.
2,500 people on the wait list, and there's only 24 hours in the day, and there's only one of you. So scaling is clearly the next solution.
Well, and here's the funny thing is that, from a business perspective, I could just loan my brand or license my brand to 50 people and run seminars all across the country. I won't.
Yeah.
Like it took me like a year and a half to find one person, Phil, that I entrusted to teach, because you got to teach my way if you're going to do this. And so it took a long time to find someone. So I'm really focusing on quality over quantity, and this is not a cash grab.
No.
So a lot of people won't get to go to the seminars, but the people that do are going to be mind blown.
All right. So, how many is it? Just energy drinks? What do you? Do you have the same nose problem I do? That no. How do you keep going day in and day out? How do you keep this level of excitement and energy going? Though?
Sure. It's I have a pathological fear of getting old.
Okay.
I am so terrified because my observations have been when someone gets into their 40s and especially in their 50s, everyone I've ever seen, once they slow down, they never speed back up again. You can slow down when you're 28 and then realize at 30 there's a whole life in front of you. But most of the people I've seen when they get older, once they slow down, they don't.
It's just a steady decline.
It is. And so the anxiety and the fear of that drives me. I also, there's this wave of disc golf is so big right now from a business perspective. I'm not going to have to be a greeter at Walmart in 15 years if I do all these things today.
Mm-hmm.
And nothing against greeters at Walmart. I just picked that as a job that an older person might get.
Mm-hmm.
But I don't want to do that. And so I don't want to miss this wave. And so that's really been my focus. A lot of it's anxiety driven, but it's not an unhealthy anxiety. It's a channeling the anxiety into.
Well, I mean, and that all is wrapped up in passion. And then that's what's helping drive. I make the comment all the time, like when people say something about retiring, and I just think there's not a world I can envision where I'm not doing disc golf stuff, whatever that is, somewhere in media or whatever, whether I'm 62 or 72 or 82, hopefully there's going to be something that I can be involved in that's still fulfilling to me, and then hopefully providing some kind of service or fulfilling to the rest of the world. So in a way, I know exactly what you're talking about. Like, you love it, and it's so easy just to let it come through and pour out of you.
And to miss this wave would be, from a business perspective, to not take advantage of this opportunity that we have in disc golf right now as a business and as a brand. I mean, talk about looking back and regretting it, because a lot of people are going to be getting into disc golf, the business side, in 5 years. Some will succeed, but every single one of them is going to say, if I'd only been there 5 years ago when this thing was happening to us right now.
Yeah.
And we are in the right place at the right time.
Yeah, and good thing we've been around a long time, so that hopefully we've learned a few lessons to keep things rolling right now.
I hope so.
All right. So speaking of the business and support, before I let you go here soon, I want you to give any shout outs, any accolades, any other things that we should be looking for this year. I know you gave us a ton of info, but is there anything else that you need to say to the world out there, all the disc golf fans that have been following along this crazy journey of yours?
Yeah, so I left a couple things out. First off, Birdie Disc Golf is also I left them out when I was listing the companies. I'm sorry, Derek. The Marvel is coming out. The Scott Stokely Tour Series Marvel in its own plastic will be coming out in a couple weeks. Zone, I got custom fitted clothing.
It looks sharp. Looks very sharp.
For 51.7 years, I never bought a piece of clothing that I tried on first. Like, I grabbed it off the rack. I would wash it, and then I would take the clothing out of the dryer and toss it on the floor and pull clothing out to wear. Like, that's how I've lived. I've never cared about clothing before. And now all of a sudden I'm like, these are custom made, not just custom designed, they're custom fit.
Yeah, it looks sharp.
And the reason why is because of how much respect I have for the Pro Tour. Is that I will not do anything that does not represent the tour in a way where the tour isn't going to be really happy to have me, because I am going to be in front. I will get a lot of attention. I will get a lot of immediate attention. There's going to be 88 players with higher ratings than me, and there's going to be a media company that wants to talk to me.
Yep.
That's going to happen. So I need to, these opportunities where I'm going to be the face of the tour, I have every intention of being the best face I could possibly be.
Well, it's been an incredible journey. It's been so fun, and the crazy part about even saying that line as I look at you is that we're maybe halfway. I don't even know where the journey is going to end, but we're right now just on yet another leg of the journey, and I feel like there's so many more in front of us. It's pretty awesome.
Oh, the disc golf is like where it is right now. I mean, we are so big, and we're nowhere near as big as we're going to be.
Exactly. Yes.
Like, we knew this was going to happen. Honest to God, we all knew this was going to happen 40 years ago. Like,
just hoped it would have been earlier, but you knew it was gonna.
We all knew it was
inevitable.
This was and is the greatest sport in the entire world. It is taking over the world, and we knew it was going to. There's different types of sports. There are spectator sports that are based around watching, like professional baseball and professional football will always be a spectator sport to the masses.
Sure.
It's not a participation sport. A sport like ours, I have no reason to think, isn't going to be the largest participation sport in the world. the sport that the most people on planet Earth play. With my apologies to soccer, we always have to include this, soccer in there. And I'm sure cricket, and there's a couple places where 1 billion people play cricket.
Yeah,
So,
there are.
But we're going to be one of those.
Yeah.
As far as participation, we will be in those groups, and it's just to see it happen is, there's no words.
Well, we've been along for the ride. You've been here as one of the original drivers of this ride that we're all on, and it's been pretty awesome to see. So certainly looking forward to this year, and even in addition, your entire 3-year plan.
Yes.
It sounds ambitious, but that's exactly what I'd expect from you.
Yeah, no, it's a firm that, barring global things like there's nothing that's going to stop that from happening. But right now, I'm focused on winning Las Vegas.
All right, Johnny, I know we chatted quite a bit, but is there anything that you have that we didn't cover? Anything in your notes that you wanted to touch on with Scott before we let him go?
Not 100%, but and you'll forgive me because I was doing a couple other things. Did you discuss on how you're getting into all the events, or did you get into all the events? Are we all prepped for that?
Yeah, was there? Yeah, we kind of touched on that a little bit in terms of any obstacles.
Yeah.
You talked about.
Yeah, there are events that I still need to enter. There are some that I'm going to be waitlisted for. There's going to be some, but for the most part, we've gotten this resolved.
And is there
Awesome.
any? That was actually a question I was thinking of earlier. Is there anything off the beaten path that you're expecting or you're seeking out in terms of events, other A tiers? Are you going to be trying to fill in weekends?
Oh yeah.
That you maybe didn't get into a Pro Tour event or whatever? You're going to be trying to fill up all the weekends.
Yeah,
for the most part.
Yeah, I'll be playing the A tiers that are located in between the events.
Okay.
So basically, all the touring players going from point A to point B are going to be at the same A tier. So it's going to be just as competitive, except we're playing mostly for our entry fees.
Yeah.
I got. I'll throw in 2 things. First off, Eagles Crossing.
Yep. I go on. I know what you got.
Yes,
Let's hear it.
I want to win. So that is the biggest skins match in the history of disc golf. Is taking place in April. They already have some numbers out. There are things in the works that I'm aware of. It's going to be much bigger than currently advertised.
Okay.
It will be the biggest skins match, and I was invited to be part of it.
Yeah, that's pretty incredible. What is it? Eagle, McMahon, Brody, yourself, and
Calvin.
Okay.
Yeah, it's gonna be a lot of fun.
Was there a height requirement to be part of that? Jeez.
I think you might be right. Well, it's so great. I mean, Brody's such a good guy. Calvin is hilarious. Like Eagle's just such a genuine guy.
Yeah.
I mean, like these are three really good people. I don't think I will touch on this briefly. Brody does not get the credit from some of the people that he should. You could make the case that there's no disc golfer that has put more eyes on disc golf than Brody.
Yeah, for sure.
And so what he's done for our sport, I mean, our sport's this big, he gets the claim to be a part of why that's happening. And so he really should get the credit for it. I mean, and I've got to know him this week. He's a good guy. And of course, Eagle and Calvin are 2 of the top 4 players in the world. And I am going to, I have every intention of taking all
the money.
Of course,
all the skins.
Yeah. I have no intention.
I mean, all that like lovey-dovey fun stuff is one thing, but you're there to take a whole bunch of money out of their pocket.
It is actually it's something that I've been thinking about because I've been fanboy all week, right? Taking
Sure.
pictures of people, and I think that's okay. I'm a fanboy until the tournament starts. So when the tournament starts, I'm a competitor, and then after the tournament's over, I get to be a fan again. I get to be both.
Yeah.
On the final day of the tournament, if I'm not on the lead card, I'll be finishing while people are still playing. The minute my round's over, I'm going to go out and I'm going to be a fan of professional disc golf. But I won't be a fan on the course because if you're a fan of your competition on the course, you will get beat by them. I've had so many players over the years ask for my autograph before the round starts, and I'm just thinking, why are you doing this? You just lost.
Yeah.
So I'm not a fan when I'm playing, but the rest of the time I am. But at Eagles Crossing, by the way, it is $200 to come watch the event. But one of the things you're going to get is I am doing a 90-minute throwing clinic that's included with your sign up
ticket price. Yeah. Okay. Awesome.
Yeah, so
and that's in April, right?
That's going to be in April. Okay. Eagles Crossing, what is probably going to be considered the greatest course in disc golf.
Yeah, I've heard a lot of good things, and certainly excited to see how it plays out for you guys. Anything else that's off the beaten path that is out of the ordinary that we wouldn't know about?
Yeah, I got one last plug. So my book is out, and my book has got 5 stars on Amazon.
Yep.
It's won international awards for the story that it's told, and I sure would like to get a movie made. And that involves people with skill sets that I don't have.
Okay.
So if someone's interested, that is one of the things that I have on the back burner. It's not a priority, but it's something I very much want to happen. It'll be it'll be an amazing story. And so,
will you play the main character?
No, I'm going to play Dan Roddick.
Okay. Oh, the Stork 003. Okay.
Yeah. So Dan Roddick. Well, Dan Roddick's a huge part of my book, and he's also 6'7", and I will pay homage to him by playing him in the movie. I've already decided that.
Okay. All right. I love it. All right. Anything else before I let you go?
That's good. Go to scottstokely.net. My tour series discs are available. You can buy support what I'm doing on the tour with some cool merchandise that'll be worth a lot more money someday. In theory,
Absolutely.
In fact, I have what are called the NFTs of tour series discs.
Okay. Yeah. I suppose
maybe I don't know.
we'll go with that.
I'm just trying to sound young and hip. But yeah, no, thank you. I've said this before. I'll say it again. You and Jonathan have supported me from day one when I came back. As I was trying to reestablish my brand and didn't know what direction I was going, you guys have never support and being behind me. So I'm always going to be a fan, and of course, your friends.
Well, appreciate it.
All right, thanks everyone.
We'll see you out on the course in the next couple of days. I'm sure we'll talk.
Absolutely.
All right, have a good one.
Thanks.
Take care. All right, you're good. Yeah, I'll take that, and I will rejoin you here, Johnny. Yeah, you guys.
Okay, so the show's gonna be going for a bit.
Yeah, we'll talk for hours and hours and whatever. So thank you guys for coming by.
Thank you for everything. I'll use the bathroom again.
All right, so Johnny, hopefully I can still hear you.
I think you can.
Plug in my headphones to make it a little bit easier to hear you, actually. And I have not, as if the world didn't know, I haven't checked any of the socials or anything. So if anyone's...
Don't go giving yourself a bloody nose here, putting your earphones in, headphones in.
I'm, hold on, one, yeah, that's the last thing I need is another one, right?
Oh my gosh, yeah. I know some people are asking, like, hey, why is Johnny even hanging on the show? Obviously, when Terry has a guest on site, and it's usually just easier if I kind of step back while Terry kind of takes care of a lot of that stuff, because me trying to interject doesn't usually work over Zoom or a Skype or as we do a vMix call. So for those type of interviews, a lot of times I'll just take a step back and handle the socials and the chats and the NFTs, apparently. So
yeah, you picked up your most recent Scott Stokely NFT out there.
Well, yeah, of course. I've got 2 of them.
Out on the open sea. Good job. All right. So has there been any other chatter going on? Well, I guess we know that there has. One of the big conversation pieces, if we're talking about social media or media in general, sounds like the Disc Golf Pro Tour made a few announcements today with regard to what we're seeing for the post-production. Obviously,
there is no post-production. They've eliminated it. That's what I've heard.
Yep.
It's only going to be live, and it's going to be behind a Russian paywall. So I hope you don't mind.
Good call.
And you need to have Bitcoin to watch, but you get an NFT.
Oh, that's perfect.
Yeah.
Can you watch it from Ukraine, or is it just the Russian side?
I don't know all the details yet. They're going to announce the details in 3 weeks.
Yeah, good. Yeah, so of course, big news today was the conversation piece regarding the rights to lead card coverage for Jomez Pro has paid the Disc Golf Pro Tour to secure those rights, and then a couple other 2-year contracts that were announced. I believe they were also all 2-year contracts that included the Gatekeeper, GK
sure?
Pro. No, that's why I said I believe.
Okay,
I know
because I thought
GK.
I thought someone had said Jomez was the only 2-year. The other ones were 1 years, but I could be wrong there.
I could have swore I saw something on Gatekeeper's social media saying that they were locked in for 2 years, but
I hope so.
Know,
they're good guys.
But come on, what do I really know?
What you didn't mention is the amount. It is a 2-year.
Yes.
It is a 2-year agreement to cover lead card for $500,000, $500,000 for 2 years. So that's $250 a year for math majors. I know there was some confusion of whether that was per year or that was total, but it is $250 per year. I guess I have to ask, Terry, I'm going to throw this in quotes, is that the right amount? I don't know. I don't know if anybody has this answer, but
yeah, no, I mean, it's kind of like our contracts with our athletes. It has to start somewhere. So we now have a bar that's been set for this type of opportunity. Now, I almost screamed this earlier because I can imagine, as I spoke with not one but two different events today that were coincidentally we're talking about getting some post-production coverage. And I just want to explain to the world, do not get it twisted that this is not the norm. And it's not the norm because most media outlets have not built themselves to 360,000 subscribers and thousands of Patreon supporters and subscribers. And also your B tier with your top rated 982 player is not going to command the viewership that Jomez is going to continue to get week in and week out with literally the sport's best players. So I can understand how some tournaments may be licking their chops a little, thinking, what? I can't wait to everybody
pay me to go to my event. Yeah, no, we are.
Yeah. So, and let's be real. Of course, that would be awesome if we get to that point where, that becomes a model. That'd be awesome if you're the tournament director, and that'd be awesome for the media crews, because that means the media crews are making enough money and are more than sustainable that they can kick back to the event. But Jomez, because of their quality, because of the things that they do and the hard work that they put in, they're in a unique position that literally no other crew could be in. And again, that's in every way meant exactly as a compliment because of what they've done. The Patreon support alone that they get is incredible. And that's why they're able to do this. And the views that they'll get, I don't want to say will quickly make up and erase that 500,000, but for them to recoup that expense will happen far quicker than all of the other media companies combined.
Correct.
Again, I mean, because of everything that they've done so well.
For reference, they have 3,700 patrons, minimum of $5. Not minimum, but $5 a month is their base amount. So that right there is about.
Is that the lowest amount?
That's the lowest that they offer. I think you can do a $1. I think with Patreon you can actually choose other amounts, but that is their starting level, so to speak. So that's a minimum right there of I think $230,000 or something along those lines. And we know that that's not all. So let me put it this way: the Patreon costs will cover what they're paying. And again, $500,000 is a lot. I'm not saying you can't take, it's very difficult to take $500,000 out of a company and not, whatever. It's so,
I feel like it's no big deal. Yeah, we're not saying that.
Yeah, by no means. And Jomez has, we're not worried. Nobody's worried Jomez is going under because of this. We'll put it that way. Those guys do a phenomenal job in branding, marketing, all the extra things that they film, merchandising. The Paul Macbeth Foundation stuff, I'm sure isn't being done for free. They're a business, and I don't blame them one bit. So whether it's the right number or not, I mean, we don't know. There's no way to really tell if that is the right number, because how do you judge the right and wrong number for something like this? I mean, the way I look at it in ROI. Would the Pro Tour pretend that we went back a few years and whatever we're now, and the Pro Tour decided to put everything on their YouTube page? What could the Pro Tour make off of their YouTube page? My perspective is it doesn't matter what page the lead card coverage is on, it's going to get 150,000 views, 200,000 views per video, maybe, depending on the card and whatnot. So those views equal money, and that's how you can build up. So could the Pro Tour take that away and put it on their YouTube and make that money? Sure. But then you also have to look at the number of extra people you need in order to do that. The Pro Tour would have to hire at least 2 to 3 people for graphics and editing and overnight, probably coordinating talent to do commentary, paying commentators probably in order to do things like that. So there's all these extra costs. But
yeah, and
so
as you're
again,
saying,
there's no right answer to whether they paid the right amount. I think they paid a good amount. I'll put that. It's not. I don't feel like it was astronomical on the Pro Tour side. I don't think it was astronomical on Jomez's side. Now, the funny thing is, I saw is they're not covering any other divisions. They cover MPO lead card, not FPO, not MPO 2, not MPO 3. There's way less money in those, and there's less demand for them.
mm-hmm.
So ultimately, we want to spread out the coverage amongst other teams as well. It would give a lot of people a chance to thrive, is really the way it's working right now. And I'm totally fine with that. I know some people don't like the fact that you have to go to 2 or 3 or 4 different YouTube sites to get your full post-production coverage, so to speak. You know? But that's the environment we're in. If you don't like it that much and you're watching that much post-production, just watch the live. That's how I kind of look at it. Like if you're complaining that you have to go to 2 to 3 different sites to watch all the rounds and the 9 holes, I mean, that's almost as much time as it takes to watch live. So you could do that. But I know I'm not there's a whole post-production versus live. Anytime anyone mentions it online, you can go to there. You can look at all the idiots on Reddit, arguing that stuff. Please, by all means, do that. That's not what this is about at all. So I want to congratulate Jomez and the Pro Tour.
Yeah, and clearly this is going to be an argument until the day we die that, well, I love live, I hate live, I love post, I hate post, whatever. Like, it's to me, what's funny about that argument or that discussion is, and it's like a lot of other hills people will go to die on, is they have to bring it up every single time.
It does, yeah.
Cool.
Yeah, I know. It's cool. You could literally post something like a cameraman for the catch cam for the live broadcast broke his toe, and there's somebody be like, I hate live, and you're like, okay,
I hate live anyway. Yeah, I don't care. They give it to Jomez.
Yeah,
or whatever. Like,
so if you want to get in on that conversation, there are plenty of places to do that. This is more of a discussion.
It's literally everywhere.
It's in a lot of places. And everyone has their preferences, and nobody cares. It's kind of like
Of course, I'm not suggesting people don't. I just feel like it's hilarious that people feel like they have to voice it every single time, and that's pro-live or anti-live. I don't care.
Correct. There are people.
It's funny how just people have to voice it literally every single time the production comes up or the conversation comes up. But nonetheless, congrats. The one event that I think that we are going to see from Jomez for FPO is, I think we saw the women's nationals, or U.S. women's, as it's called. I believe is going to have Jomez as part of that.
The one event that, or maybe 2 events that we're probably not going to see Jomez is USDGC, and I think European Open is my guess. And that that is because so with the new Pro Tour, the new DGN price increase, which I think went up to $11.99 a month if you're not a PDGA member, will include USDGC and European Open. But what it will not include is the post-production for those. This is only the live coverage. And so post-production is still going to be put behind a paywall. And that paywall is, I believe, last year DGN took the editing with the help of some post-production crews, but it was technically considered a DGN product. And the way I understand it is Jomez has a very strict standard next day, all day, for the most part. Like, if it's not next day and for free, they don't believe in it and they won't do it. And so that is not the model that those events are going with for post-production. So that is why that is probably why Jomez is not in the running, so to speak, for those 2 events. It's just 2 events. It's 2 of our bigger events, but can
I start a petition somewhere?
You can sign one. I'm sure they're probably already out there. So that is probably why that they will not be doing that. But there will be post-production for those events. They will be done by a very qualified crew, as we have a lot of qualified crews these days. And it will be available, I believe, at an extra cost for the post-production on those majors. That does not include Worlds, but I believe it is for USDGC. And I think the European Open as well. I'm 75% on European Open there. So, yeah. That's those.
I haven't looked that far into it. I just saw that that we're going to see live is going to be part of the subscriber experience for this year for USDGC. I know that excited a lot of people, and hopefully will make things a little bit easier for everybody this year because we knew of that extra paywall that just had an extra hurdle or obstacle, if you want to call it that, that was associated with it. So. Awesome. Well, yeah, and of course, you get your 50% discount if you are a monthly subscriber to. If you're a PDGA member, you get a 50% discount to the monthly subscriptions. Go out and do that. At the end of the day, I think, as we said, that math works out to $6 a month, and I think of a million stupid ways people spend $6 a month. So I don't think it's an astronomical ask by any means. But if you hate live, then please do not pay for it, because I don't want to hear you complaining about it. All right. So I'll touch quickly on again here at the event, as we're still a couple days from it kicking off. It is going to be a 4-day event, if somehow you didn't know that. They'll be playing the 3 courses over the 4 days kicking off this year. And the last 2 days, as Scott mentioned, have been absolutely brutal. Like, it's not even enjoyable to walk outside because the winds have just been ripping the entire time. So if you're seeing players that will maybe make a post, I know I saw Paige Pierce and I saw Connor O'Reilly. He made a comment today that said something like, it's windy when my stiletto is flipping over in the wind. I mean, it's been just absolutely brutal out here. And so the 2 days I've gone out to the course now, in the last 2 days, Monday and Tuesday here, there's people out there practicing. Some people are playing, of course, but not nearly the level you would expect to see on any other given week out here for the event. And allegedly, it's all dying down. And I don't know, I guess I could even check. Maybe I'll check the internets and see if that is true. But that's all people have been talking about as well. It's crazy for these 2 days, but it's going to die down. But what it's also going to do is cool off considerably. Right now, it's listed as 47 degrees out. And tomorrow, it's only going to be a high of 59. So, albeit
you're looking at about
fine for me.
55 to 60 degrees each day with about 10-mile-an-hour winds.
Yeah, so certainly much more, we'll say, manageable or tolerable is maybe the better word for it. But it is going to be significantly cooler. And as you were just saying, Johnny, the temperatures when the women are going to be teeing off, if I'm just looking at, Thursday. I'm looking at Thursday at 7 a.m. when probably the first groups will be going off. You're looking at only 4-mile-an-hour winds, sunny, but 34 degrees. So, again, I'm from Wisconsin. I've got a layer or two I always have packed along. So I have insulation, but it's going to be a bit chilly out there.
Couple things. One, I'll be curious to see how this affects the players. Will it affect the Europeans less because they're used to this cold weather, as opposed to maybe our the American players who have been probably hanging out in more warm weather? We know a lot of them are down in Florida, California, that type. Is it going to affect them? Mm-hmm. Second of all, this is exactly what we expected when we put the FPO in the morning. We saw this years ago, that the morning rounds can be kind of brutally cold for weather for the first 2 months until you get through, I would say, maybe mid-April or early April, we'll say. Anything goes. Honestly, we've seen snow.
And even then, we saw snow in April in both. Well, we saw snow in April in Jonesboro, and we also saw snow here a couple of years ago, which was very, very abnormal. Don't get me wrong, but yeah, it proves anything can happen.
Exactly. And so this is one of the It's one of the quote unquote downsides of splitting the broadcast again, and giving FPO their rightful due attention, full attention of a live broadcast, and the MPO full attention of a live broadcast, and not trying to split attentions. There's no good answer. There's no good solution to be able to do this, short of doubling everybody's expenses and putting them on at the same time on different courses. And two broadcasts running simultaneously on two courses,
which
I don't see that
at that point
happening.
seems like So and I was going to say that seems like I don't want to say a wasted effort is not the word I would say. I just don't know if that would have the return that would be worth it.
It won't.
In the first place. So
it definitely wouldn't. So right now, the way we obviously have it is, the same crew that goes out in the morning, some of those guys turn around an hour later and go back in the afternoon. So for cameramen, and in the control room as well, in the commentary teams, and the on course reporter, that's you.
Yeah. So that's me. I know. Okay. So I'm in Vegas, and you want me to be up
early
outside for 34-degree temps at 7:30. What did I sign up for? No, I am looking forward to it. And so let's quickly segue to that, touch on it. This weekend, as we kick off the regular season here of the Disc Golf Pro Tour, we're going to have in the Milwaukee booth, not where I am currently, but in the Milwaukee booth, we're going to have Ian Anderson, Philo Brathwaite, along with Elaine King. So it'll be the three of them will be in Milwaukee, I believe, here on the ground, at least during the press conference tomorrow, and helping with some other stuff. I think Zoe Andike and possibly Nate Perkins and myself will be around. We'll have a couple of PDGA media reps that will be around doing some stuff as well. So that's all going to be part of the team tomorrow. And then the rest of the week, Thursday through Sunday, I believe we're going to have a large focus on a couple of PDGA reps doing kind of the post round or follow-up interviews, in-depth interviews. And I'm going to be out on the course with both the MPO and the FPO lead or feature cards, acting as a sideline reporter. So that's to kind of break down the front-facing media staff and team. There's going to be a ton of other people doing a ton of other work, but the voices and the faces that you'll see in here, I think that largely summarizes everyone. So, yeah, it's going to be fun, and it's going to be a long weekend.
It's going to be a 4-day event. 2 rounds a day.
4-day event, 2 day, 2 rounds a day is just a big bang to get the season off and running for sure. So and some chilly temperatures. And I'm going to go ahead and say, again, I'm not complaining about the temperatures. I don't really care. I'm also not playing. But it's only going to get as warm on some of these days as mid-50s, low 60s. And so it's not like it just starts out chilling. It's definitely going to get warmer and warmer. These last few days have been in the 60s and 70s. I don't know how much. I don't think we're going to see 70, maybe even the rest of the week. So it's just something for all the players to prep, seeing how people react, seeing how people are prepared. Those are all things I think are the bigger storyline. It's not necessarily complaining about, oh, this is the exact temperature. But think about how the disc is flying, the reaction you're going to get on the ground. Is the ground going to be wet or muddy or dewy or all of those? Those are the things that I think you should be thinking about when we're talking about the temperatures. All right. I'm sorry. I'm just also getting I'm not going back on the board, but I am definitely looking over at it and taking a quick peek at it as well. Has there been any other questions from afar, Johnny, that you've been thinking with regard to Vegas, the event this year, any other chatter that you've seen that people have questions about that maybe I can provide any insight into?
No, not really. I mean, everybody's kind of familiar with what you're getting at Vegas at this point. It's been on the tour. I think this is the second year officially. Third?
Yeah. Well, yeah, it was obviously it was a national tour for a couple years,
yes,
and then
national,
now being.
I think this is the second year on the pro tour, but it was a national tour before that. So define the tour however you want. Yes, but I believe everybody kind of knows what you're getting with Vegas. I mean, it's a lot of flat land, and it is it's a big, long, wide open bomber course, and that's honestly
Yeah,
what
I mean,
that's
you have 3 of them that play a little different, but
yeah. I mean, there's and maybe I'm just it's all a blur to me, but none of these courses are extremely memorable to me. So, and I've had this problem. There are individual holes. I couldn't tell you what course they were on.
sure.
Like obviously the finishing hole where we saw Eagle last year throw the tilt upside down, and you know, there's a few of the opening holes I do recall. There's, you know, a couple nice shots over some water, depending on how you take the hole. Small little ponds and whatnot, but I just. Yeah, I don't know. Vegas is kind of a known. It's a known commodity at this point. There's not really a lot of surprise here.
Yeah. And also, in all fairness, you've never been here and actually seen or played the course or any of the courses, as opposed to a few of the other ones out on the tour that you're a little bit more familiar with. But yeah, and the fact that we have 54 holes. I mean, I think
that's part of it as well.
That certainly is part of it, because even right now, as I'm thinking about the holes in my head, you know, a few of them can kind of blend together when you have so many of them overall that they're going to be playing throughout this weekend. So,
yeah, there are some really great advantages to these courses in that they are so open that, as someone mentions, they're great for spectators. They're great for selling spectator passes, and there's a lot of room out there. And you know, you can fit a really large event here. I'm not dismissing the establishment or the courses or anything. It's just kind of how these courses are with this many holes. It's hard to distinguish one course from another, whether it's the factory course or the Innova course, or I forget the other course now, but yeah,
the Infinite course.
The Infinite course. Thank you. It's just difficult, you know, to do that.
Well, and certainly something that Jeff Jacquois and his team have worked so tirelessly throughout all these years is building up this grand stage and this venue that we're now playing on. Like you just mentioned, the spectator, I don't want to say just requirements or restrictions, but everything has an extra notch of professionalism and of seriousness to it. And that really excites me. You're seeing where there's barricades. You're seeing where people are allowed, and not just. I'm not just a big fan of like, oh, let's restrict the freedom of walking around, but knowing that people should be in certain areas, and you can't just be out there roaming around in a fairway, because you may or may not be impacting play on another fairway. And I just feel like they're taking a lot of those measures in place, and having legit things like legitimate ticket sales also. Of course, help support the event, but they, I think, legitimize so much of the event, and then also give something to show to others. Like, hey, we had 1,200 spectators, we had 2,800 spectators, whatever the numbers are, I don't even know. But we're finally getting better at being able to actually put our finger on what the economics really look like. And I think that's all part of this accountability and a part of ticket sales and things of that nature. And it makes it that much easier to go out and attract additional sponsors. If someone says, hey, I'd like to vend at that event next year, well, they can say, hey, we had, 22,000 people come through for the weekend, or whatever the number is. It's just, yeah, there's so much more to it that I think a lot of people tend to forget. I don't, maybe this isn't a surprise. There hasn't been a lot of craziness to report on from Vegas. I was going to give a full in-depth report, but not too much going on here. Things have been relatively, at least from my perspective, things have been pretty even keel. I did get in Sunday night. I was opted for the first time ever to go to Fremont Street and the Fremont Experience, as they've dubbed it. And that was a lot of fun. Met up with a number of golfers down there. Took in the Four Queens for the first time ever. If anyone's been to Vegas and knows exactly what I'm talking about, usually you're kind of cut from you're a strip. You like to be on the strip, and the madness, the atmosphere of what the strip offers, and then it's just a very different vibe down on Fremont Street. So I was down there for one night along with some golfers, and now I'm at the link for the next few nights. And what can I say? I enjoy both of what they have to offer. Somebody's saying on the board, which I think is one of the biggest stories about this entire week. We have the best women in the world are finally together.
Literally the top 4 rated players. The top 4
and
rated
everybody
players.
talks about, well, yeah, but so-and-so's not here, and Evelina's not here, and Hannah's not here, or well, Kristen was there, but so-and-so wasn't. They're all here. They're all together. They've got 3 courses, 4 days, 72 holes, all of that stuff, all similarly rated. I mean, we don't have anyone that's 10-10 compared to, everyone else at 960. So the parity is there. It's just going to be a matter of who steps up and performs. I guess the question is, of course it matters, but does it? It's not like we're determining, well, so-and-so's clearly the best player in the world now. We determined it this weekend.
You're not in sports media, Terry, because this weekend will determine the greatest of all time.
The greatest FPO golfer we've ever seen.
And not just the winner, whoever is leading after first round. At that point, they will be the greatest FPO player. So if Paige Pierce is winning by 1 stroke, she is the greatest. If Henna decides to take a 2-stroke lead after the first round,
3-stroke lead, yeah.
My God, it's over.
She's destroying.
Henna is destroying the field. Terry. You really have to get into sports radio mode.
I'll have to pick up those narratives and run with it. No, and that's my point. Like, I'm excited to see it play out, but we're not going to see one player win by 39 strokes and leave the other golf, because all the other golfers are also, shooting 8-10 golf for the weekend. Like, you're going to see a good battle, and I was going to say flip a coin, but flip a coin, what, 3, 4, 5 times? Because it's anybody's game. And I know part of the narrative will also be, which whether I'm pushing it or not, will be like, well, who practiced? Who didn't? They're all practicing. Nobody did anything revolutionary probably over the offseason. And I'm not trying to dismiss this, but they're so evenly matched up and they're all great. I'm excited to see the battle, but it's one of many, right?
Yes. It's kind of funny because I understand the concept of putting a little media behind the scenes. If you don't know, first round, every post-production team gets their own card, including the DGN. So DGN usually takes the best, quote unquote, best card that would be for broadcasting and what they decide. So that's why, there will be, for DGN, there's going to be Paige, Kristen, Henna, and Evelina on the broadcast card. And then I believe GK will probably have a different set of women, probably the second card, which has like Haley, Hokum, Allen, and Scoggins, I think. Odds are that's probably how it's going to work. So I understand putting the top 4 rated women in one card. There's a little part of me in my gut that just feels like Kat is getting almost like she should be on that broadcast card. She's the world champion. I know she's not, she's technically like the 6th or 7th highest rated woman here, but it just hurts and again, you can slice it any way you want to. I can't fault
I was going to say, like, how many coins are we flipping here?
Yeah, it just there's a little bit. If I were Kat and I were a competitive person, I could see this as a slight. Like, I'm not on the broadcast feature card, and I understand how they sorted it. Everybody does. But you're the world champion. You are arguably the player of the year. She had a dominant season, and to start the season off not in the spotlight just slightly feels like I could read that as a chip on my shoulder if I were her. I'm just saying. I mean, it's, again, we're talking sports radio here. You gotta find the hook. So
yeah, I mean, I understand what you're saying, and I feel like at that point, to some degree, we're splitting hairs. Because you could make an argument literally for everyone. You could make an argument for Missy Gannon to be there, for Paige Pierce to be there, for Haley King to be in there. I just feel like there's an argument that could be made.
You could make some
no
bad
matter how you want to
arguments.
slice it.
But the cat argument's a good argument. You could make bad arguments for those.
I'm not saying it's not.
But I understand. I understand what they did. I completely see why they picked the lead card that they did. Plus, everybody wants to see, the Finns and the Estonia, Kristen Tatar from Estonia. They want to see them go up against arguably who we feel is the best player in the world right now, Paige Pierce.
So for the sake of you,
again,
maybe
I understand. It just.
Yeah, I was just going to say, for the sake of you maybe sounding dumb, who would you take out then and then put in, take out to put Kat in?
It's a hard choice. I feel like you almost have to flip a coin between Henna and Evelina. And I would.
Okay.
It's tough because you could say I would take out Henna because she doesn't quite have the name recognition of Evelina because, Evelina won on the Pro Tour last year at the very beginning of the year before everything was, or 2 years ago.
2 years ago?
2 years ago. So you could make that argument. She won at the Memorial. And you could put Kat in there. But you could also say, well, no, Henna's technically a point rated higher than Evelina. So she should be in there and Evelina should be out. There is that answer is really up in the air. I don't have a good solution for that.
We're both sponsored by Innova.
Correct.
As just a side note.
Yep. I understand the back end working of it as well, Terry, and thank you for bringing that up. All I'm saying is that it does there. I feel like you could have shined a little spotlight on our world champ. So that's it. That's all. I mean,
okay,
you're right. There's
I
no
love
right
Kat
answer
as much as the next guy, but I feel like as we're looking at who won last year,
Paige
Pierce.
Yep.
And then you're sorting by rating, and you're talking about the 4 highest rated women in the world. I understand what you're saying, but I also understand fully how they arrived at what they did. And as you just said, Kat's actually the 7th highest rated person at the event.
Yeah, I understand all of that. I understand all of that. Like there is an argument to be made either way. There are good arguments. There are bad arguments. Of
course, sure.
I'm just, if I'm Kat, I use that as a little motivation. That's all I'm saying.
Okay, we'll go with that.
Okay.
Anyway, we obviously have the best on the FPO side, the MPO side. Everything should be exciting. I don't think we're going to see any. I guess backtracking slightly, we're not going to see any forehands out of Eagle McMahon, who's talked about not relying on those. We saw that. That wasn't the case even in the high stakes All-Star weekend, and so I don't think we're going to see any of that come to fruition this weekend either. And then it was really big that and maybe I didn't bring it to light just enough during the All-Star weekend, but Eagle said he's not playing a couple of the Texas events, and part of that swing because he doesn't want to have to play and rely on or go to his forehand shots, which he'd be more inclined to do out there. Whereas he feels like a course like this, a course like the All-Stars, is a situation where he doesn't think that a forehand will be nearly as crucial to have. So we'll see. I'm going to expect that he sticks to that game plan. I guess the real question is, what's the over/under on lefty shots out of Eagle this week? You think we'll see any
this week? I don't think so. I don't think. And granted, again, I just said 20 minutes ago that these courses blend together, and I don't have a good vision, but I don't recall. I think someone said he threw 4 forehands here last year.
Okay.
And so I think if your goal is to get away from the forehands, he can probably just throw Anheisers on those holes. He doesn't necessarily have to throw a forehand or even, a lefty shot that might not be quite as accurate. He might not be able to quite as reliable with throwing that at the All-Star event is one thing. Throwing it on the Pro Tour is another. You have to be very confident in that or not care. So maybe we see something like that if he's out of it by the end of the, if he can't win with a few holes to go. There's a lefty shot out there that I could see that, or it's super early in the round and he wants to give it a shot. I just don't see. I don't see a scenario where he's going to need to do it very often.
My follow up to that is who counted? Did somebody have that? The question is, did a super fan
Statmando does, man? I don't know if it was them.
Well, that's what I was going to say. Did a super fan have nothing better to do? Or did somebody go back and actually do the recon as opposed to just remembering like, oh, I watched it. And I mean, God bless whoever, if they really arrived at the right number, and 4 is the right number, as you say, Johnny, but man, I guess that's why we have research departments that I could never work in. Gatekeepers on the board saying hole 3 at the Innova could be one where he throws a forehand.
Okay. You're not wrong, Gatekeeper. I don't.
Could be. Yeah, I don't. Yeah, maybe.
Do you know what the Pro Tour has now? We've got what we call loggers. Literally every shot that we show on camera.
Cutting down trees? That doesn't sound very eco-friendly. Did Madison approve that?
She did, actually. She picked the trees. She named them.
Okay.
And then we cut them down. No, we've got people now, some PAs that are actually taking, and in a spreadsheet, every shot that we take on the live broadcast, they mark. And they do a quick description of it. So I don't know if they're doing forehand, backhand. It would be kind of cool if you're listening and you're out there to do that. But you could easily then do a filter based on eagle, forehand, this. I mean, that's how I used to log our shots. If it was a unique shot, would be, label the actual highlight. When Sarah Holcomb would throw a backhand and it happened to be a highlight, I would label it backhands just so I knew that it was a different type of highlight. So yeah, sure. I'll find out. I'll talk to Mo and see if that's happening, because that could be very useful going back. So someone doesn't have to go back and watch all the post-production or live to gather all of that.
Again, I know they're dedicated fans that probably would jump at the opportunity, or maybe Thomas Gilbert just knew that off the top of his head. Whatever the case might be, I applaud you guys for the diligence and the for the diligence is that what I guess I would say there. It looks like we got Gatekeeper out on the board. Hope you guys are well. I haven't run into them yet. I did see most of the Pro Tour crew, which has expanded yet again. Things we've talked about in the past about just the overall the depth in which we have and all of the media crews are continuing to expand and get locked into more and more roles and responsibilities, which is awesome. I also saw, I think I was on the call, maybe you were on it earlier, Johnny. At one point they were doing, I think it was a volunteer ring of fire that they were doing. And so they're pounding a pot or a pan or something and letting everyone know that the volunteers could go out and do a ring of fire and they could win stuff. And just the way they treat everyone here is just absolutely incredible. And people are continuing to check in and do everything at the Wild Horse, which is an awesome venue to be at. Let me just say that if that's not obvious, just everything here when you're at the event feels just really professional. And that's one of the big advantages to being at a golf course. And I know people can talk about whether they love the golf and the shots that are required or not, but stepping into a clubhouse, having a full, bar and grill and places to relax and media rooms, like just, it's a great way to get things kicked off for the season. That's for sure. All right. It looks like Tyler Brickley and friends are out there as well. Man. So what would you say is the anticipation level of the tour and the year and the season and the golf? Is it a 9? Is it a 9.5? Is it an 11? Is it off the charts?
Who are you asking?
What's your gauge, Johnny? Yeah, I realize that, but if you had to just take a sweeping poll all the way across, what do you feel like is the sentiment out there?
I feel like we're at an 8.5, and the only reason we're not higher is that there's a significant segment of the disc golf population that just doesn't love the West Coast courses. the Heiser bombs, that they're super excited
Sure.
to get closer to the East Coast. And so that it kind of slightly tampers it a little bit. But ultimately, a lot of people are excited that disc golf is back, man. It's a really cool community and cool environment to be in right now, because as you know, and with our interview with Stokely, we've been around a long time, and this wasn't always the case. You know, you would go, there would be years that you would almost forget that the first national tour was happening. You're like, oh yeah, that's right, that's happening. We've all the guys are going out there, and you know, the 12 touring pros would all meet up at wherever the first national tour stop was, and then it would be a bunch of, you know, regional locals. So it is really nice to see the excitement in the sport the way we have it right now, and I think that it is it's going to be a good year.
Yeah. Well, with a little bit of a setback, we got to send out our well wishes. I feel like unfortunately we're doing this often, week in and week out, but of course our well wishes out to Matty O. He said that he thought maybe he just enjoyed the crab and the food too much here in Vegas, but then actually went into the emergency room and then had appendicitis, had his appendix removed.
You don't need that.
And it sounds apparently not, which I think is weird. Like we can start removing organs, but yeah, and he's on his way back to Alabama from what I saw and heard. So I think he's going to get all healed up and recovered. So hopefully everything works out. I know he really struggled the last day, according to his Facebook. It sounded like he was in either a lot of pain and or felt mildly neglected, but hopefully he is now on his way back and gonna mend up. I wonder what the timeline is. I haven't looked anywhere. And maybe he posted it somewhere, or maybe some of you know that have had this happen. Like, what is the realistic timeline before Matty O is throwing a disc and is competitive again? Is that I have no idea. Is that 2 weeks? Is that 2 months? Johnny, you want to Google that? Average recovery of appendicitis?
Appendectomy recovery is usually 2 to 4 weeks. Normal activity, 2 to 4 weeks. So let's just say disc golf is a little bit above a normal activity. So I'm going to say,
especially for throwing and
a twisting and your midsection. I'm going to go with, let's say he's out a month, 4 weeks. So he's going to miss the first 2 events. Maybe.
Okay.
I mean, he's an old school golfer. Matty O's been around a long time.
Mm-hmm.
He doesn't put the same type of torque into his throws. He throws very far, that we see some of these guys do now with, you know, the straight pullback and the follow through. Matty O is much more of a curler. You know, he's got that, you know, the unique form. So he doesn't put quite as much stress, I think, on his abdomen as a lot of guys probably do. But it's still, like, I think if he's back in 3 weeks, that's a really good recovery. I would probably bet closer to 4.
Okay. Dr. Johnny. Update.
This is my professional opinion as a
yes. As a podcast host, we have learned that any opinion you may have, medical, should be revered as such.
Yeah.
You have a stomach. I have a big stomach.
I have a big stomach.
So I think we're qualified. Okay.
Certainly.
I am reading. There's it sounds like the comments are saying, 2 to 4 weeks. Again, I guess it's going to all come down to him specifically with the throwing motion, as opposed to, can he go out and, just have a nice walk in 3 weeks and it's going to be no big deal. Will throwing be that much worse? I guess we'll see what happens and how it shakes out. So, of course, well wishes. I hope he heals up as best as he can. And it's crazy. It is what it is, and he's safe and he's well and mending, but crazy to think of the hype and everything surrounding him and Westside, and then just the new chapter in his life, and now it's just going to be simply delayed by what we're guessing is 2 to 4, 3 to 5 weeks, whatever the case might be. So, best of wishes to him. And then also in the news, Johnny McRae going in for surgery. I think he had a pacemaker of sorts installed, and it sounds like everything is going as well as it can be. And Jen, his wife, often says he gets overwhelmed by messages of love and support, which is incredible. And sometimes she has to take the phone away from him because he gets too emotional and is taking them all in. And I say that lovingly and jokingly with a smile that all the love and support that's being shown to him, rightfully so. And Jim Oates is continuing to be on the mend as well. And we saw a post coming in from Juliana Corver stating, hey, due to what's happened with her beau, I think that's appropriate age.
Fiance?
Yeah. Okay. We'll go there too. Due to that, though, their schedule, combined schedule, is of course on a little bit of a delay, and we'll see that pick back up in a few months. So yeah, unfortunately we have these medical updates, but so far from what we've seen, they've also all been as good of results as they can be, all things considered. So best of luck to all of them.
Yeah, I would have to assume Johnny is going to be out probably a minimum of 3 months. The pacemaker. My father-in-law just had a pacemaker put in on Monday, and so resting well.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, and they say it's 6 weeks before he should be really lifting and doing anything. So I'd assume it has to be at least 2 to 3 months before Johnny is throwing with the power that he does. So.
Yeah, and as somebody said on the board, yes.
And again, I'm a doctor. I'm a podcast doctor.
Yes.
So
yeah, Johnny, Dr. Johnny V.
I watched the first 2 seasons of Grey's Anatomy. That has to be good for something. A little bit of ER when I was younger.
And they call you like Dr. McDreamy too, or something like that.
Let's not talk about
Dr.
that. I don't.
So I don't even know what I was gonna say, but
way to derail yourself, Miller.
I know.
I watched all of Scrubs. I've seen every episode of Scrubs.
Oh yeah.
Virtually
Turk. I mean,
I am virtually a doctor.
Yeah, along with General Hospital. You're a big fan of that, so right?
Maybe when I was in kindergarten, we watched with my grandmother. We'd watch a little bit of the Luke and Laura saga, that era, probably. Other than that,
sure.
So,
all right. Is there anything else in terms of disc golf conversation that we should be having?
No.
Legitimate disc golf conversation.
I don't think so.
Like all this doctor talk. I'm trying to think of I want to go to the course and catch up with these players and see what's going on. And most of them are just hiding from the wind. So I don't have a lot to report on. Tomorrow we will have a press conference. I want to say it's around 2-ish local time to Las Vegas. I believe it's sometime around then. And people will be able to tune in and watch that. And I think that's about it in terms of the golf stuff. Yeah, we're going to go with this. All right, Johnny, do you want to do we want to do a quick transition over to an after show here for everyone?
Sure, we'll do a real quick one.
Keep rolling?
No,
did I lose you?
We'll do a quick one.
That's good.
And then from there, we'll do a quick transition. We'll do a quick after show.
Yeah, I lost you for a sec. Okay,
that's fine.
Okay,
Nobody else did, just you. So we'll go into the after show. Just say goodbye, good night, do whatever, and be on our way. I've got a long night ahead of me. We'll talk about that in the after show.
Okay. All right. So we're going to close things out. Thank you guys for joining along this ride that got off to a little rough start here in Vegas. But thank you guys for joining us. Thank you to Scott Stokely for jumping in. He rushed over here from his hotel, went through a bunch of challenges to get up here, but really appreciate him joining us, giving us a little insight. There's been a lot of hype. Like I said, he might be the conductor of that hype train, but we will take it. And so glad to get caught up with him before this huge season is upon us, not just for him, but for all of disc golf. So we're very much looking forward to it. We're going to have a giveaway. In fact, I think we're going to have 2 giveaways because last week I didn't do one. So we'll be able to give away 2 this week.
That's right.
So we're going to double up on those. So make sure you stick around. I'll do my best to follow along with some other comments. Johnny V's got stories. I've got updates for the after show. So we'll get into all of that. So for Scott Stokely, Johnny V, this has been podcast 390. Stick around. We'll be back in just a few moments from Las Vegas. We'll see you then when you step inside the Smashbox.
Thank you to our $2 and above patrons. Your name is listed below in the credits. If you are interested in being listed as a producer in the Smashbox TV credits and supporting this and other fine podcasts, please visit patreon.com/SmashboxTV.
Hello, everyone, and welcome to Smashbox TV's podcast 390's After Show. Well, let's get it right out of the way. Someone just asked, and as always, we want you to follow along in the after show. Put something in the chat. Johnny or I will see it, hopefully, and then if it I don't want to say deserves. If it requires a direct response or something along those lines, we'll get to it. And one of the questions I just saw is, was it ever explained why Terry had a bloody nose in the regular show? High winds, dry weather? I think, honestly, a little combination of everything. I did not know this, but apparently
Scott Stokely punched you?
First of all, yes. First of all, I don't usually have allergies of any kind. I know a lot of people talk about having them. I've always been very blessed that allergies haven't been a thing until the last couple of years. And so with some traveling and then coming to this climate that I'm in, my eyes have been a little bit itchy and I've had a couple of nosebleeds. Well, little did I know, and I just found this out. Apparently, if you take some allergy medicine, one of the main ingredient in that, whatever it is, also then dries you out even more, which then can make your nose bleed more. So the one that I had to start the show, which literally just came out of nowhere, like seconds before we went live, was like my 7th nosebleed in the last 2 or 3 days. And so I'm sure somebody out there can relate. It is not awesome. And I feel like it's going to start again any second, even though I'm just sitting here. So that's what's been going on. And then maybe even to make matters worse, it was the worst one I've had in the last 2 or 3 days, and I could not get my nose to stop. There's a very disgusting pile of Kleenex next to me filled with blood.
That is...
So there's a pretty sight for everybody.
That is appetizing. Thanks,
Pretty
Terry.
picture. All right. So, yes, dry weather. I'm going to read a few comments on the board. Are the live drone shots going to be available? There's a couple components to that. One,
assuming the wind is down.
The winds have to be down. And then 2, our main drone camera operator guy, who's usually Trent. I don't know if we have another guy that can or has done it, but Trent is our guy. And if everything works out and we're at a certain stage within the tournament and the coverage, then yes, drone shots. We had a handful of those last year, right, Johnny? I mean, that's not.
We did.
I know
we had it at USDGC.
We cut to that shot. Mm-hmm.
We had it at USDGC primarily, and I think we covered it on one or maybe it was DDO. We did it as well. I vaguely forget which ones we did it, but the plan for this year is to have basically have a drone shot for every course, regardless. It'll be obviously more useful at certain courses in certain areas. We're not Maple Hill isn't the best. You get great you get great hole 1, and maybe hole 4 to 5. And then hole 10, 11, 12, and that's about it. Maybe a hole 18 as well. So there are better places than others. So, but ultimately, the plan this year is to have the drone as much as possible, because it is a great chance for us just to, as we call it, bail out, so that we can everybody can reset, figure out who's doing what without us jumping to something else. The commentators can just commentate for a few seconds, and we can get them prepped for whatever's going to be coming up next.
Exactly. Someone else scrolling back up, someone asked, and
or we're going to hire Tyler Brickley to do a blimp. Yeah. Or jetpack.
That's not a bad idea. I'd like to see him on a jetpack.
Me too.
I think that sounds like a good idea. Ray then followed up and said, "What is the DGN policy on using drones where allowed? Do players find them distracting?" That's a good question. Clearly, the network and the entire Pro Tour would never want to do anything that is intentionally distracting or disrupting to play. Play is the number one concern. Let's just put it this way. If there has been any of that conversation or concern, I have not heard it. That's not to say it has or hasn't happened. There is a player group in which the players can be and are, I think, very frank and very pointed and direct with regards to criticisms and or compliments and areas of improvement. So if there's been anything, that's probably where the channel in which they would do that. So I will say, Ray, though, that with that, that is that's not an open invitation for anyone else that may or may not have a drone. Clearly, the drone that's being operated is by a Disc Golf Network employee / cameraman with specific direct intent, as opposed to, that's not just someone putting it up for fun or it's all 100% intentional. So don't try and fly your drone around. That would definitely cause a problem, I'm sure, with someone.
Yeah, and our drone pilot usually stays pretty high and away from the action. Only towards maybe the end of the rounds does he start to get a little bit lower and a little bit closer. And the All-Star event was a little unique, because I know he was down much closer than even he is normally doing. But that, again, was much more casual.
More of an exhibition. Yeah, casual. Exactly. Reading through some more, someone asked, Subway or Wawa? That's a funny question, because I do enjoy Wawa sandwiches. They're really good, but they're so limiting. So, but they are really good. I'll give you guys that. What's your opinion on the Jomez pay for play deal? If you're talking about I don't want to say we beat it to death. We did not do that, but we definitely discussed it at length. So you're going to have to rewind, I don't know, maybe not even a full hour probably, and you'll get the full conversation of everything that we talked about on that. So we won't bother repeating all of that. Leaving it for the cleaning people, meaning my disgusting, bloody Kleenexes. No, I will put them all together and I will put them in the trash where they belong. But there is a lot of them, more than I've ever had before. Johnny is asked, what new bourbons have you tried lately? Have you tried any? Should I look for some here in Vegas for me to drink?
Sure, yeah. Okay. Not so much new. My wife picked up the Glenlivet 12. That was a few weeks ago, and I think she just we had some friends over, and for the Super Bowl, actually, we had the production crew over, and I don't think any of them really drink. Well, Gary drinks, but he brought beer. And so she just went out and bought some Bulliet. Nothing crazy or spectacular. If you have any suggestions, message me. I'm always up for an idea or two. See if I can find it around here.
Jeff on the board says, this is on the YouTube chat board, states, remember that video, the MVP sponsored Olympian who threw the disc through the Olympic rings rings. I guess Innova stole it, posted it, and didn't tag the guy or MVP, and I guess they're ignoring them both. Here's what I can say. As a gentleman who posted that as well, I posted it. Here's what a lot of people will say it's never a big deal with regards to sharing and posting, and I understand all of that. I do, because you have to think about, like, is it worth creating a stink over? Is it worth getting upset over? Is it worth sending a message or a note or a meme that MVP Steve created today, to kind of take a jab at the situation? Everybody has their different opinion on it. And I just want to say this, as a guy personally who creates stuff and has very limited creative skills to start with, when you create something and then another entity takes it and uses it, I understand that's kind of the point of social media, but there's always this fine line of social media sharing and getting things out there as opposed to copyrights, trademarks, plagiarism, blah, 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 all those other legalese that you want to throw around. I'm just saying, when you create something and then something is taken, it feels different than if you're just simply the person that had no skin in the game. And I can say that personally.
I understand that.
But do you? Because when's the last time you had something that you worked really hard on or not just stolen with any credit and it was your livelihood?
No. I'm saying I completely understand it. You and I have had this conversation on and off the air 100 times. I think there are certain things that are stealable without regret. That's what a meme is. Honestly, if you make a meme and it spreads out, that's fine. This wasn't, this video. It wasn't so much that. I think they were looking. Yeah, they were clearly looking for a tag, and here's the other thing I'll say specifically about Innova. They have not had the best social media presence in the past. They have not been the best on social media. I don't know if it's just a lack of trying or what. I feel like they are still relatively young in, as far as some of the social media goes. So maybe it was just honestly a matter of not tagging him, that they couldn't, or they didn't think about it, or what, or maybe they had no clue and they just saw it and posted it. I have no idea, but I understand, MVP Steve as well. This person's an MVP sponsored player, and they didn't even tag the name and whatnot. I get all of it. I understand, but I also try to look at something like that from another perspective, because you know what? The other thing about social media is that particular shot or whatever isn't costing anybody money. You're not taking away anyone's livelihood like you would with a YouTube video or anything like that. It's there. I think there's a fine line as to where you're costing somebody literally money, which obviously, like you pointed out, in social media, was there an ad attached to it? Probably not. Are you taking, are you removing somebody's ad? Social media is meant to be shared. Now, are we early in our social media lifetime as far as a society where there are certain rules, or are we farther along into it? I don't know, where some things are just expected to be done. Are you expected to tag MVP? Are you expected to tag the guy by name, or just, hey, check out this cool shot that this guy threw down the hill?
Sure.
He's an Olympic athlete. I mean, I don't know the right answer, but I also have no problem with what MVP Steve did either. Taking a jab at Innova. To me, that's
sure.
On one hand, it's kind of fun in games, and I know on the other hand, maybe it was a little serious, because I know MVP Steve a little bit. He literally told me that he used to kill people for a living. So, he was in the military. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. I don't know if the two coincide, but
or is that just a coincidence?
Or that's just a coincidence? I don't know, but I really like MVP Steve. I really like you. Like, you're one of my favorites.
You're our favorite.
Really favorite guy. So, yeah.
Yeah.
Anyway,
again, I know, and we've talked about things like this with regard to, as the chat board is saying, when somebody takes all of your best shots and then puts it in a compilation video and then puts it up and then monetizes it on YouTube, that feels very different than some other scenarios. And are you asking ahead of time? Are you collaborating, or are you just taking it? And it's funny because a lot of times you think about how these small operations, like, well, it's no big deal. Is it only a big deal, or is it only a big deal when it's, I mean, I can't take the NFL's top 10 plays, put a highlight video together, and then expect to monetize that and not have that get flagged on YouTube.
Is it okay for Joe Schmo to steal from Jomez because they're the biggest in our sport right now? Is it okay for Jomez to steal?
The answer is no.
I know. That's what I'm saying. Like, the answer is no. Well, I was more thinking on social media, not necessarily YouTube. Like, YouTube don't take other people's content without asking ever, no matter how big or small you are.
Yeah.
And make sure to credit people. That's just, but when I'm talking more.
And credit does not give you implied
correct
permission either.
Correct.
But anyway. All right. Yeah. So, I mean, I again, it could be an oversight. I'm going to guess it's not intentional. That they, had posted the video and thinking, hey man, there's this really great Olympic related disc golfer post, and we know it's related to another company. Let's absolutely leave the other company off of our post and our tag. I don't know that they would do something of that nature. And we could always have the argument of being careful when you're just blind, if you're blindly reposting something. I think we've seen elected officials like just kind of blindly repost things that they think means one thing that really had a totally different meaning to it. I mean, I think those are things that you need to take into consideration. So, all right.
Yeah, so we've got 2 giveaways tonight, Terry Miller, and I would like to get the crap out of here. I think I have to stay up until about 4 a.m. tonight. So it's yeah.
How about, just for the sake of solidarity, I will join you in that effort tonight.
You always do.
Will.
You always do.
I will absolutely join you. I will somehow find a way to entertain myself here in Vegas until at least 4 a.m.
Well, I get to wake my daughter up because she has to go in for a sleep study tomorrow morning. And so she has to wake up at like 2 in the morning, 1 or 2 in the morning. And I get to be up with her until probably 4 or 5, when then I'm going to tag and hand it off to my wife. So I'm going to have a very grouchy 10-year-old to have to entertain for the next few hours. But so if I can get out of here quickly, I can probably get at least maybe an hour and a half nap in before I have to be up for the rest of the night. So let's do some Patreon giveaways. That's right. We're going to do 2 giveaways tonight. If you'd like to be eligible for our giveaways, you can go to patreon.com/smashboxtv. And for as little as $1 a month, you can be a supporter. Support Smashbox TV and our independent media outlet. We don't have that $500K to throw around,
No, we don't.
So
we're also not very good.
No.
So we're just here.
We don't deserve it. So let's be honest. But if everybody who's watching gave us $1, every single person,
oh my gosh,
Terry,
I'd be $100.
Terry could lose it at the casino.
Hey, I'm up a
like
little bit.
8 floors. That's about.
I am up 8 floors. I am on the 8th floor.
Are you? I totally guessed at that.
I played a little roulette last night. I've been really hooked on playing roulette when
it seems like the worst gambling. It's just so random.
It is 100%. I understand my chances are so much better at the 2-deck blackjack that I almost sat down at. I understand all of that. Trust me. Unfortunately, there's just still a fun element to it that sucks me into it. But yeah, a little bit of roulette, and most importantly, I walked away up a few bucks. So I did not. Let me repeat, and I will not give the number. And maybe he posted it, maybe he didn't. So I don't want to give the number in case he didn't. I did not have the luck or the skills that J. Ray recently had. To say he had a big night a few nights ago, I think is an understatement. So good job, Jay Ray.
I'm gonna have to get
maybe he did post it. I heard it
details
secondhand, so that's why I don't want to say it. But if he posted it publicly, good on him. He did real well.
What just overall, or what was he playing specifically? Or
I again, I heard it secondhand, and I believe I'm going to check his socials right now. I believe it was playing blackjack. I have no idea where. He wasn't on the strip or downtown that night, so he must have been somewhere else. Obviously, you can win anywhere. That's what Vegas tells me, at least. But man, I really want to find it too, and I want to see if he actually posted it. Either way, we didn't touch on this, and I got sidetracked earlier. So let me get this in before you do the giveaway. When I arrived here, I went straight to Sunset Park because Jay Ray was doing a fundraiser for Johnny McRae. When that was all said and done, a few $1,000s was raised. So I got sidetracked in talking about Matty O as well. But yes, big shout out to Jay Ray and then all of the supporters that had anything to do with being part of it. I arrived off the plane at the last possible second to show up and help break down and close up shop. But there was a successful fundraiser for Johnny McRae, and that was taking place over there. And I wanted to get that in and say that as well. And yes, you can go out and I know Latitude was making fundraiser discs. Somebody said that those have been really successful, maybe even sold out. But did I think 12 or 17,000 or something?
I think they sold out. I heard somewhere around 15,000. I've seen a couple different events. And I saw one that had raised 2,000 for Johnny. So. Big hearts, people. It's a great job.
Yeah, absolutely love it. So wanted to get those in there as well. And big shout out to Jay Ray and crew for getting it done. $2,000 was raised through the generosity of disc golf. That was just at that event fundraiser. So big shout out. All right. You got a giveaway. Let's give some stuff away.
We do. Again, patreon.com/SmashboxTV. Yep. Okay, that's right. I just want to make sure I clicked the right one. All right. And we have 182 people eligible for our giveaway tonight, Terry. What is the number that we want to draw?
Oh, my gosh. There's so many numbers that have been running through my head here down in Vegas. Let's go big. Let's go with the first number drawn.
First number drawn for our first giveaway. So wait, our first giveaway is going to be the disc member disc in a box.
Nice. Like it.
Yep. So this is from Disc Store. Again, this is a disc member box. So this is like technically a $25 value, but it's usually like $40. So that's who the first winner is going to get that. So hold on one second. So our very first number that we're going to draw is 93. 93. And let me... I sort them by first name.
Okay. 93.
93 is Juliana Schick.
Very nice.
So congratulations, Juliana Schick.
That is awesome.
All right.
Thank you to Nick and Juliana, who vastly support efforts that myself, Johnny V, the Disc Golf Guy, the discgolfguy.com, all of those endeavors and efforts, along with tournaments and whatnot. Thank you very much. That's very awesome.
And our next giveaway is going to be a Sexton Firebird that Terry picks up from Nate Sexton.
Nope. First of all, I have to find a way to get my hands on one.
One of 7 that's out there.
7? No, I have to find a way to get my hands on one, which, believe it or not, it sounds like it's in jeopardy this year. So that is, those are some real problems.
You know who to reach out to, right?
But I'm going to try and get my hands on one.
You know who you have to talk to there, right? Chuck?
Okay.
Chuck,
I'll
reach out to Chuck.
Okay, I will.
He might be able to help you out because
get in line.
Yeah, he probably will. But at least Chuck is. I think he's got a little inside line on it. He always helps out doing that. Chuck's one of our graphics guys on the Pro Tour. He does a lot of remoting in. So please, by all means, if you need it, reach out to Chuck. Maybe he can help you out. He'll get you one of the broken ones or something. He'll have everybody sign it. It'll help you out.
Yeah, that'd be great.
I know, that's great.
Yeah, we'll find something. I've got some stuff. I want to get the shout out in here as well. I had a great talk with Double G's business partner today over at Double G Jerky, and they're going to up their support of what I'm doing as the Disc Golf Guy channel, and that will just spill right into you guys as well. So I just wanted to give that shout out. Big, huge thanks to Double G Jerky, and looking forward to doing more stuff with them this year, including now offering up some additional commercials that they've put together.
The big red flaming hot bag, right? Come on, the big red.
Oh my gosh. I need more jerky in my life. So some hot boom is coming my way.
Some hot
We'll call
boom.
it that.
All right, so let's go to our next giveaway, Terry. We'll find something for you. Maybe Terry can grab something from Vegas, not a Sexton Firebird. I don't know. Maybe he'll just give you something out of his personal collection. What do we got, Tear Bear?
We'll find something, but why don't you go ahead and the very next number, the same number never hits twice, unless it was number 22 last night on the roulette table.
40.
All right, number 40.
Our number is 40. Let's not show that.
No.
We don't want to show everybody. I almost showed everybody the stuff. All right, 40. So I need to scroll up even more. And it is Chris Spear. Chris Spear. Congratulations, Chris Spear.
All right, perfect. So, yeah, Johnny, shoot me an email. Well, I know one of those already we've got locked in, but send me the info over for Chris, and we'll make sure to reach out to Chris, and then we'll find something that will get sent your way, Chris. Thank you for supporting us. Really appreciate it.
Yeah.
And we'll find some good stuff to give away.
Exciting.
And, I mean, if you are currently sitting at home thinking, man, I can't wait to get this year's Patreon supporter disc, well, just send a message right over to Tyler Brickley and Friends. He's helping us out. I think we're working with DGA to get our supporter discs, and looking forward to it. So any inquiries, where it is, why it hasn't shipped, what color is it going to be, the weight on it, can you get a different weight, all those direct.
The foil and the stamp.
To Tyler.
Tyler Brickley. Ask Tyler Brickley. If you have a special request as well, a specific color with a foil and a weight, please.
He'll never touch them or see them, but you should probably ask him anyway.
Ask Tyler Brickley, because I guarantee you he's got to be the one that does all the work, right? He knows.
He knows. He'll make it happen. So we appreciate you for being out there. And thank you to our super chatters. We got Hitting the Line podcast had jumped in with a super chat. Also, Frolfer Magazine.
If you can't make it to Vegas and you do want to gamble a little on some disc golf, you can listen to Hitting the Line podcast. They'll give you all that inside scoop on the Prize Picks lines.
Perfect. That's all you need. And then people should can they play fantasy disc golf?
They can play fantasy disc golf, actually.
Oh my gosh, how do they do that?
They can go to skipace.com and play fantasy disc golf. Yeah, I know. The guy who runs that, he is... I mean, they call him McDreamy for a reason, but
they do not.
No, they do not. But no, it's actually been. Oh my god, it's been very successful. I'm so happy that everybody is getting a kick out of it, and I've been doing a lot of little bug support. I've learned quite a few little lessons about how next year is going to run, so that I don't have to answer emails all afternoon.
I would.
But yes,
could you hire me to be the virtual assistant?
No,
I would love to just sit and answer those. Oh, that would be so fun. You have a question with fantasy disc golf? How can I help? Oh my gosh!
So, who should I pick up this week, Terry? Who's a good sleeper?
I definitely should be your virtual assistant for that site. Oh.
Maybe once I start making money. I'm just saying, I'm not making any money.
You quit ripping, yeah.
I gotta start stealing some memes first.
Yeah,
start posting
I'll be the. I don't know if I have anything else. I don't know if the board has anything else, but as Johnny V's ready to get going, I'm just about ready to get going. Ryan Pilcher says he has 52 people in the $20 league.
Wow,
so lots of people jumping in on it. That's awesome to see.
Yeah. If you're interested in that, if you want to play for a little bit of cash, reach out to Ryan Pilcher. he can get you in. That's a weekly redraft league, so you get like 60. I don't know exactly how many ratings points he set up this year, but you get X amount of ratings points to pick a team, and it's like 6,000 or 6,100 or 6,200. I don't care. And he's paying out the top couple people. So I don't know any of the details.
Top 100.
Yes, the top 100. I don't know any of the details because
He got sponsorship for it.
I passed that off to him a few years ago, and he's gratefully picked up the baton on that one. So reach out to Ryan Pilcher. Or you can go out to the Fantasy Disc Golf Facebook page and reach out there. Everybody's doing drafts right now, which is great, as the season's about to start. So, yeah, so sit tight.
I did a few last night and the night before, so it's working out well.
Draft beers or?
Oh,
different.
Oh,
I got you, Terry.
You're going to try and trick me here. Yeah, we're not going to get into that. So go make sure you check it out again, skipace.com. And I'm sure there's deadlines and stuff, and people are going to want to get on board and get it all taken care of. So they should probably do that sooner than later.
Yes. You can create leagues all throughout the season. Honestly, if you miss this first week, you guys want to get together, a bunch of people and play, you just start at week 2. No harm as long as you're all doing the same thing, man. It's fun.
Nice. All right. And one final shout out as that chatter's going on. Tom McManus, I know, is one of the gentlemen introduced into the Illinois Disc Golf Hall of Fame. Tom McManus, big smashy, super, super great guy, PDGA 1276, and super happy. And congrats to him and to the Illinois Disc Golf Hall of Fame. I think also Steve Maddle posthumously is going in. Big shout out. I apologize. I don't know if there were others. I know it was Steve and Tom, and if there were any others, I apologize. But I remember seeing that in the headline. So congratulations to those people as well.
If it weren't Tom McManus, I'd make an Illinois joke about the Hall of Fame is really just a prison.
Don't make any jokes.
I love me some Tom McManus, so I won't even make that joke.
No. He's in Gurney. That's practically Wisconsin anyway.
It is.
All right, guys. Johnny, if you're ready to go, I'm ready to go. Apparently, there's other things to do here, so I might go seek some of those out. But I look forward to seeing you guys and hopefully providing a little insight from the sidelines throughout the weekend. And also, I'd be remiss without saying I'm already also looking forward to an entire week at the Memorial. We're going to have even nicer weather and plenty of golf. So eight rounds of golf on MPO and FPO sides, all unfolding over like the next 14 to 12 days or something like that. So everybody buckle up. We're ready to go. For Johnny V and myself, Terry Miller, the Disc Golf Guy, along with Scott Stokely, who is here in our regular show. Hope you guys tune in. Have a great week watching the opening week of the 2022 Disc Golf Pro Tour right here at the Las Vegas Challenge. We'll see you next week, probably with our champions, when you step inside the Smash Box.